Better leave it to the professionals.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Surfing on the web and I'm shooting at 3. I've been golden when I got my G. I'm an alien boy from a different planet, yeah. So I got my drink, I'm riding in the 1920s Model T Ford. Call her Era Lord. Call me Levi, playing on the keys, boy. And I'm about to put my gloves on. If I said it, then I meant that. Yeah, I like that one, I'm about to get that. Crash that whip for the drumsticks, whiplash. I'm about to get them all. Are you with that? In a white boat, surrounded by blue. I want one, but I got a cop too. I wanna fly high in the sky, arms out wide, trying to soar from a bird's eye view. I'm on fire, Ricky, Bobby, cracking the pavement, Whitney, Bobby. I'm a Saki bomb, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Bruce Wayne been a dog, and I keep it 101, cause I'm feeling kinda spotty. You sipping on some rock and I'm sipping on octane. The only thing around my neck is the
Started off with a
blockchain.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
NFT, Twitter, blockchain. Seeing with the ghosts and we ballin' like the Brown James. Crypto. We can make a trade, get the memo. Reviews not falling for the FOMO. Listening to coffee with Captain. You know we worldwide, they loco. I ain't never gonna stop rapping. Orlando, yeah, we working magic. We rocking Ethereum entities. I just went and caught me a half base. Man, I got a shout out
Started
to
off with a
Body.
bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1, hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems, topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Vince, yo, set it up.
Breaking the mood to choose one, but they got knowledge to move, son. I'm shocking in shades with my brother in shoes. Yeah, them blues is coming. Even though it's hard to pick, eeny, miny, mo, soda on the mix, no biting lips, it's time to go. Index number 1, no thumbs up, you gotta scroll. Looking at the ghost in studio, it's time to go. I had a helmet on by myself until I met a mask that wanted to have a face off. So I had to bring my chainsaw, full tank of gas in the ride with my brakes off. I'm A1, but a different kind of steak sauce.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin, where we dive into all things crypto, NFTs, Web3, and cutting-edge technology. Remember, nothing here is financial advice. Early-stage tech can be exceptionally volatile and risky. So grab your coffee and join Cap and Steve for today's conversation.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to Coffee with Captain GM. Thanks so much for joining us. Already done so, do us a favor, drop us a GM in the chat down below, then head up top, smash that like, repost, and bookmark on today's space. We greatly appreciate it. Warms up the algo and does us a real solid. While you're up there, hit the reminders of the week, the carousels all the way to the right. You also find the abstract chats popping off as always, the YouTube chats popping off as always. I'll go grab the YouTube link here in a second. As always, I'm Captain, my co-host Steve. Never any financial advice in the show. Crypto is risky. Meme coins are exceptionally risky. NFTs are risky, except in a raging bull that we appear to have entered. But never put any money you can't afford to lose. Know that Steve and I will hold tokens. We'll talk about it from time to time here in the show. We're not financial advisors. Certainly not your financial advisors. Don't join us for this. Don't join us for that. Just join us for some fun, some information, and education along the way. GM Steve, how you doing, sir?
GM, crazy weekend. I had a lighter weekend just because my cousin came into town with their family, so I was kind of tied down all weekend with that, which was awesome. But interesting weekend to pop onto the timeline when my little breaks and just see every time I saw a new ETH all-time high, every time I saw a new sweep going down, every time I see a new floor going up. It was just, it's gotten wacky, man. It has gotten pretty wacky.
We were chatting a little bit pre-show, and I said, I don't think we've seen this sort of activity across multiple collections since like 22. I don't think we see, there was like a $10 million CryptoPunk sweep yesterday. I was like, I don't think we've seen that for a while. The daily chart was quite literally off the charts. If you look at the last 3 months, I'll pull that up now. But I have a correction from our pre-show. You were right, Steve. Like this is this is the chart looking at the past 3 months. You can see yesterday just 2x'd any prior day over the last 3 months. And clearly, you can't dispute there has been an uptick in July, right? Like the momentum is certainly positive. What I didn't fully like, dude, December must have been a fever dream this past December. We talk about ETH being 4K. We talk about just some of the doesn't seem real. The other thing that doesn't seem real is the NFT volume. Like I thought it's been 22. It's really not been that long. It's been 6 months since we've seen volume. Not in the last 3 months, but this is all time. Here is like our big day yesterday on that chart you just saw. Dude, this is December. We had a 4x day. There was $100 million day on December 17th, 2024. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah, and this is funny.
I didn't 4x yesterday. I don't remember anything remotely close to that, but unless it was just a ton of wash trading, wasn't that long ago, and then even into February, there was a $38 million day in February. Like, I don't remember this surge in NFTs from late 24, like basically November through February. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, this is what I was kind of saying. So before the show, by the way, give us a like, a retweet, a comment on the room. But we're going to jump into it. We got a guest today. There's a lot to talk about. This is what I'm talking about. So Cap's showing this chart on the screen for those who are listening to show sort of the big moves. And I said, look, I'm not sure. Well, actually, this is how the conversation started. We'll just give the whole breakdown of how the conversation started. So basically, I said, if I were looking at TGE, so you have the Mega East of the world, the Open Seas of the world, the Abstracts of the world, like all these different, sort of, big sort of companies that have TGEs coming up. You kind of got to time when the market's right, or you want to time. That's when you have the most money to raise, the most interest, all these different things that go along with a good TGE and a good TGE timing. And the reason I brought it up is I said, look, we've seen this before. We've had these pump fakes. And I kind of actually agreed with Cap because I didn't have the data in front of me. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Maybe it hasn't been across the board. Pudgies ran up like crazy in December going into TGE. And
okay. That helps me understand that a little bit. That was
pre-Pengu, but Bored Apes ran from like 9 to like 20, maybe even 25 ETH at that point. Now, again, ETH is less, but like the goal, the idea being we've seen sort of a couple of pump fake runs in the past since 2022.
What was the February run? I don't remember the February run. Like, and there's a week in February that outpaces everything we've seen in July so far. What was the February surge? I don't remember that. Like, so December, now I remember. December, yes, absolutely. Pengu, TGE, Pudgies ran up violently, and that kind of like created some movement in the market. What was February though?
I'm gonna try to tell you right now if I'm right.
Sorry, this chart's so little. I don't know if I can zoom in. I don't think I can.
So I wonder if OpenSea's doing some tech updates with Chris Banner, just because it's been a little slower on the search lately. But I want to say, hold on, just hold please before I make a definitive statement. Nope, wasn't. I was incorrect. I was going to say maybe it was Good Vibes Club running up there, but it wasn't. Good Vibes Club was March. So if there's a March spike in there, that's that. There's that. There is probably some. Was there abstract NFTs? I don't know. I have to look back at like what because I was going to say abstract. Looks like KZ. I'm guessing it's Kazi in the chat saying like, didn't abstract come out in February? That might have been some of the run right there. I'm not sure. But yeah, man, I feel like we've had these head fakes. I'm not saying we're in one right now. And I want to discuss like what NFTs we may potentially even see from here. Is it just going to be legacy NFTs because we have enough communities? Are there going to be people who find creative ways to build businesses? Like we talked about this last week when we were kind of like workshopping random stuff, but it was like the idea that like Rect it has an NFT, it has a brand coin, it's got a real business. Like, are we going to see some of those emerge where people have ideas of things that could be in the market where, we could get behind some of those brands? I just don't know. But yeah, we've had these before. So it's just, if I'm a company thinking about a TGE, if I'm prepared, you want to be prepared because we talked about it. Like, if you have a TGE, you want to have syncs, you want to have tokenomics, you want to have market makers, you want to have all your things in place that you need that are taken care of. But yeah, man, I wonder, like, if you want to be considering really starting to think about what something like that looks like as we enter this, or if we're just expecting, look, we just had a stablecoin bill. We had the Genius Act. We had the Clarity Act. We have all these things coming through that are very positive for NFTs, period. Well, I should say crypto, period, but like NFTs by proxy as a risk asset. Do you just expect that it's just going to continue to get sillier and sillier, and we got some time on there? So
I agree with the 3 to 6 month outlook. I'm insanely bullish over the remainder of the year. Could something happen? Yeah. There's way too much. It's like, even like the whole ETH thing, like what Tom Lee is saying is nothing new. Like, it's just they're finally talking about it on mainstream media. And
he said ETH to 10K, and everyone's like, what a crazy, wacky statement. I was like, that was what we just say. We just say that around here. Sorry, go ahead, Gap.
I just think way too much activity, way too much momentum. I think things are, I like, personally, I'm full risk on. I wasn't even kidding in the war room. I think I said I'm hooked on Hyperliquid, and I may never trade spot again. I kid. I'll DCA, but I may not trade spot again. It's just like now.
You just running longs on Hyperliquid? Is that what you're doing all day? Pretty much.
I mean, I should have shorted pump after I closed that long, knowing it was heading, or thinking it was heading the direction. But yeah, it's like I don't bet unders. I also won't, I'm not comfortable shorting. It just goes against my makeup, and I don't want to root for things to go down, even if it's not a token I hold. So yeah, I just have a few long opens, and there's printing right now.
When shorting sucks, like, I know Jim Cramer's a joke, but like, we talk about Jim Cramer being like the guy who played too long, like Willie Mays for the Mets, dropping balls in the outfield type thing. Like, because he was like one of the goats, and now it's kind of like he's like, there's the inverse Cramer thing. Cramer had this whole anecdote about his ex-wife, I think it's his ex-wife, who was a short seller, and he was a long, like, and he was like, and Jim Cramer's like, look, I've done shorts, but when you go long, eventually something goes to zero. If you go short, the pain just doesn't stop until you close it. And it's like, he made this comment about when you say you don't go short. I don't go short because I'm like generally, like, it goes against what I don't like to do, or, you know, like, I'm similar to you. But you go short on something. I would have shorted pump, actually. I should have thought about that. If I was messing around on Hyperliquid, I would have, because you know my take on pump. It's been since the beginning, and everyone's like, everyone's like, 15 bill for pump is FUD, or whatever it was. And I'm like, I don't know, man. But short selling, just right now in a market like this, the thing is, if I go long and I lose, I can live with the fact that I was thinking, head in the right place. If I go short and I lose, I feel like an idiot, because it's like, I'm sorry, I bet against the market flying. So, but you're going longs mostly on Hyperliquid right now. What are you going long on? Is it just ETH? Is it are you looking at like other, like what are you doing on Hyperliquid right now that you are?
I'm currently in an ETH, a Pingu, and
oh my God, you're printing. Pingu's 25% up yesterday.
ETH, Pingu, and Hype. So Hype's the only one's like flat since I opened it. It's just been chopping. But yeah, ETH and Pingu is ripping. I wish I would have went more size at this point, but I'm looking for. I should just open them all at the same time, because I was trying to be selective and like spread out my bets, but I should have just opened. I mean, really, my thesis hasn't changed. I sent the tweet out a month ago about alts, my bag of alts, and I feel as much, if not more, conviction in those now than I even did then. I really would like Rec to get on Hyperliquid, and I would open up I have Rec's funny because I've been doing it like the OpenSea buys, and I have another bag of Rec. So like my Rec bag's like spread across multiple wallets. And whatever, doesn't really matter. It's just I wish I was in with more size in Rec. I just wanted really, like, I think it's going to be a big winner this cycle, and I should have just picked up more spot. I've just basically been waiting. I told myself, as soon as it gets listed on Hyperliquid, it's coming soon. They already bought the ticker. I was just gonna lever up as much as they would, whatever they let us. And but yeah, that's another one I'm looking forward to over there. But it's just not live on Hyperliquid yet.
Yeah, your strategic rec reserve is spread across all of the different wallets. I'll tell you what, like what I'm kicking myself a little bit on, and it's early. It's like we're in the first inning of this thing. Hopefully it's not the pump fake, like I said earlier, but it feels a little early on some on everything season. But one of the things I'm kicking myself a little bit on is that I've been talking for a little bit about like the things that I want to make the bets on this cycle. Obviously, I have my board Ape, and I'm going to go to Ape Fest, and that's just, the club is the club. I was talking about getting another little pudgy. Those have cooked. Talked about getting more into rect, maybe a rect guy, but it feels like the NFT is just sort of meant to be just, hey, it's a PFP. We're not going to do much with it. Maybe, I don't know. But, rect guy as far as like the NFT, the coin, and then Pangu, it's just, sort of like these, very small handful of bets where if I consolidate enough going into this, thinking about like Rect, Abstract, Pangu, obviously, we've got some Apes, some Yuga, all that going on, like making a few strategic moves on those things. That's like what I've considered doing, and I haven't done it, and I've seen it continue to rip, but like, I don't know, like we forget how silly market caps got. We forget how silly floor prices got. And I know that was a bubble, and I'm not saying we get back there, but I don't know, man.
Well,
like,
I think we can, man. I think we can get back there. We're not going to get back there as wide as last time. It's not going to be thousands of collections, and every day there's multiple mints. I do want to have that discussion. Like, what will we see? Like, I know you say legacy. I think like Good Vibes Club is very much so this cycle winner, I feel, and up about 30% on the day again. I'm just curious if we're going to see more of those as things heat up. Like I'm expecting, like as early as today, I think we'll see a degen mint. I don't know if it'll do well or not, but I expect the scammers are going to come back out, the grifters are going to come back out, and most of those will quickly go to zero. I'm not really interested in degen mints. Like someone slaps together a free low effort mint and it just runs on pure FOMO and speculation. But I'd be very interested if we see more NFT launches like Good Vibes Club, where you have, existing business. They put a lot of thought and attention into their collection, and not that it's tied to Toast, but it's like there's a, there's a real business there, right? You have real revenue that gives you like, okay, this is not just going to be a flash in the pan. This is not just going to be, catch attention for a week and then be gone. It's a team of builders. They're not, I don't think they're going anywhere. And I'm curious, excited if we see more new mints. I expect we'll probably see some degen mints today or this week at least.
Yeah, and well, the question is like degen mints, art mints, like things like that might be kind of fun to do. Like sort of wear back type mints, like will be really kind of fun to play around with and see what people do. Yeah, man, I'm gonna be fascinated.
Rec Guy NFT finally kind of bid. It's up to 0.67.
Oh wow! I looked at it at like 0.48 the other day, and I looked at it at 0.38 at one point, and I've been able to pull the trigger.
This when things get crazy is because like you see the punk sweep and you see the big news, and then you don't realize like, holy shit, Clone X are ripping. Like it's like, I mean, in all seriousness, don't put any money in you can't afford to lose. Don't like a lot of it. Like I'm insanely bullish the next 3 to 6 months. I think some of these things will continue to run, and we're just getting started. I also think some of these are going to be very short-lived. Like I think there will be collections where when we see momentum, we see days like yesterday, I think you'll see a whale or two go into a collection thinking, this is going to be the next one. They sweep 100 of them. The floor goes up 50%. No one else cares. And then a week later, the floor is back below where it was. I think that's highly likely to happen. And
right.
To each your own. Like if you love the Clone X art, go do your thing. I'm not touching that stuff with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, Clone X. I mean, who loves the Clone X art? Honestly, like let's be honest here.
It's a bull when Shiba's coming back on stage. We haven't heard from Mr. NFT himself for a minute or two.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, yeah, but like I think there's like people are just looking. It like one of the things like that I think happens in these markets is people just don't care. People just don't care about, they don't care about like actual story. They just want to see things rip. But yeah, that was my big question. Are we going to see are we like we're seeing a lot of, but like I kind of said this morning. Actually, let me bring it to this because I said this morning, and then I actually might make sense because we talk about how silly it get. Might make sense to go more in a minute here, but I kind of said like I'm super curious to see if any new NFT collections run this cycle. It feels like the sweeps are so far legacy collections in one of the following categories: art, companies with real business plans, strong communities. Can new NFTs in these categories emerge? To your point, we have seen Good Vibes Club, which isn't really a legacy collection. So I think that is a fair pushback on when we see are those collections. But I'm gonna just hit more now because it'll remind us how silly we got, and then we can go to Shiba right after that.
The more you know, brought to you by ENS.
It's time for the more you know, brought to you by ENS, and let's talk all-time highs because some of these NFT floors were straight up wacky. Bored Apes peaked at 152 ETH in April 2022, roughly $430,000. One JPEG, almost $500,000. Pure bull market energy. Pudgy Penguins, from forgotten to unstoppable, they hit an all-time high of 27 ETH, or about $102,000 in late 2024. Obviously, that was leading up into the Pengu Mint. We just talked about that a little bit earlier today. That's what toys, memes, and a clean comeback can do. Doodles rode the community hype of Pharrell's cosign. I don't remember this, to 23 ETH, nearly $70,000 at their peak. Azuki hit 30 ETH, which is about $95,000 before Elementals shook the foundation down a little bit. And Clonex, yes, Clonex, Nike-backed, full of promise, surged to 19 ETH, around $65,000 as digital fashion took center stage. It was a time when JPEGs were just flexes. They were assets, identity, and access. Can we get there again? I don't know. But in a bull run, floors don't just rise. They melt faces, and they melt faces quick, as we've seen this weekend. And that was the More You Know, brought to you by ENS. ENS does more than not just anchoring your name across Web3, but anchoring across the internet. It's your identity, simple, memorable, and unmistakably your security, interoperability, and ease of use. Go to ens.domains to secure your ENS domain today. And Cap, I forgot actually, because Sheba's up here reminding me of it. We'll go to him in a second. I know you pulled up some other stats you want to go through before you go there, but the ones that I talked about were obviously I'm holding my ape, maybe a little Pudgy, Pengu, Wreck Guy, and the other one I talked about was Moonbirds. And I didn't bet on Moonbirds initially when Spencer bought. Obviously a retrospect play would have been really great to do, and I have a mythic, but the idea of potentially buying a couple of mythics was something that was on my mind as well. And I just didn't do it. And those are the things where it's like, I'm going to talk to you after we go to Shiba, but although it looks like we might've lost Shiba, I was going to say, I'll go to you about what you're thinking about buying and where your head goes. But like, those are the things I'm truly thinking about buying right now with liquid that I have. And actually basically, taking the leverage, ETH has, NFTs, the leverage bet on ETH again with those. Like, those are the ones where my mind goes to, because those are the businesses that make a lot of sense. But Cap, I don't know if you want to go through this chart and give any thoughts on that, and then you can toss straight to Shiba.
Yeah, just I mean, you mentioned how wild things got, and this is a good snapshot. We'll do a daily market update here in a bit, but just to give you an idea, this is Tyler sent this out this morning, 6:44 a.m. Excuse me. So 24 hours. I mentioned the $10 million punk sweep that sent it up 17% to 47.75 ETH. Pudgy's up 13%. Apes up 21%. Milady's up 10%. Azuki up 29%. Crypto Dick Butts up 40%. Project Aeon, this is the one that's tied to SPX 6900, up 45%. Moonbirds, as you mentioned, up 22%. On the art side, there was also a huge squiggle sweep, sending them up 35% to just under 6 ETH. Ringers up to 19 ETH. Fidenzas up to 28 ETH. I think Fidenzas might be a buy here. These ratios seem way too close. I'm not the fine art expert, but on this list of fine art, the ones that jump off the page to me are I want a Wins. I've wanted a Wins.
You've been on Wins since like forever. Like, you've been way on top of that.
That's
one
that
got away.
I still think it's a good trade. My problem is if I buy one, like, I like the art. Like, I would display that in my home, and I don't really have like a proper home even to display that today. But I just I'm gonna basically I'm deciding I just need to wait till the bear because I'm just not in a position to put $16,000 in digital art. That's my trading liquidity. You know what I mean? Like I I would love to own one. I think this is a good price. I think the price probably goes up from here, but I'm just not making $16,000 bets on art when I think I can do more. I can be more productive with my capital. But yeah, I think wins at 4.3 is going to look like a steal. Squiggles, I felt this, Crocs and I, RAPS, we talked about buying them in that 3 ETH range forever. But I remember when Squiggles were like 6 to 10 ETH and Fidenzas I thought were like nearly 100 ETH. No, is my memory off there? Like, is that?
I don't remember
I
that
just-
exact ratio. I don't know. Like, I don't think it correlates as much in art for what it's worth. Like, so I wouldn't. I'm
But I
not.
feel like Fidenzas have always been like the grail of this generation of generative art. Like they're not autoglyphs. They're not going to like touch that. But I feel like from the last cycle, Denzas were always like the great. They were the punks of generative art, and it just seems low.
Yeah, Squigs. I think
28 ETH is still a lot of money, just relatively speaking. It seems like that might be a deal as well. But yeah, just absolutely ripping. Markets way up as we mentioned. Just crazy 24 hours led by sweeps, and it's what the thing was most exciting to me is it's across the board. It wasn't just punks. It wasn't just pudgies. It wasn't just apes. Green days like this we haven't seen for a while. That's been so wide, and I do expect some of them to pull back, but maybe not. Maybe it is just full. And I also think we also underestimate how many ancient ETH whales there are, man. Like there's a lot of liquidity in Ethereum, and there's just not enough supply. Like all these collections you're looking at probably average about 200 listings. You know how fast that can get eaten up when you talk about bringing the brooms out? Like it's just stuff like the NFT collective market cap is so small relative to majors and relative to even meme coins. Like it's just like the supply, the total market cap, like it's way out the risk curve, but man, things can move violently when things catch a bid.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's look. We got some NFT enjoyers on stage, so let's go ahead and go to Shiba GM.
Hello, Jim. I'm walking outside, so if I rug, just boot me down. Happy Monday. Crazy last few days for all of us, including Moonbird holders. Very exciting. I took a gamble. I took a gamble on Spencer taking it over. I said, honestly, he can literally do.
Did you? I know you had a big. Hold on.
So,
I know you had a big Moonbird bag. Did you buy more when Spencer took over? Did you double down?
Yeah. I have 11 Moonbirds, and I just sold one that I bought for 1.9 for 3 ETH last night. It was a robot with a diamond head. So yeah, and you got to think that when I got most of those Moonbirds, it was at 2,200 ETH to like average cost. So outside of Moonbirds and Bored Apes, those are my biggest wins in the last few months because of not only ETH's price, but action in NFTs. I mean, both my apes were average cost 2,200 ETH, and I think I almost hit a double on my my first ape that I bought. The crown one, I don't know. That one could go for whatever, right? So if I put that for floor, then that would make a good amount off ETH's pump. But it'll be nice to see if this run can continue for NFTs. I think Penguins, like Pudgy Assets and Pangu, could help push ETH NFTs, and the Moonbird hype just ignited that more. And I think that's why we saw a lot of these bigger sweeps. I mean, big corporations coming in and buying blue chip NFTs for their vault. I don't see that happening anytime soon, but it's possible. It's very, very possible that what's that company that really is behind Pangu on the stock market on TV? If they decide to make an announcement like, hey, we're grabbing a shitload of Pangu and the ETF is launching soon, and we also grabbed a bunch of penguins, I think that could get other companies interested in dabbling into NFTs, and we can really start seeing some crazy things. But I also agree with you too, Cap. I think buying art is not a bad call, especially if it's been out for a while. Do I want to spend 25 ETH on a Fidenza? Probably not. Like you said, I think me and you could both put that in different places and make more money out of it and move it around more than we could leaving it in Fidenza and hopefully going up to 50 ETH. But yeah, really nice to see a market where it is. If anybody got any NFTs over the last few months, you are up and you are way up. So don't be scared to take some profits and buy some other stuff.
Good reminder to take profits. We never know how long this is going to last. It could go the other direction tomorrow. I don't believe so. I believe we got a good 6 months ahead of us, but I also am a perma bull, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Yeah, it is NFT enjoyer season on Stage C. Let's go to Loki next. Before we go to Loki, though, do you like this? I pulled up this post from Dunk Cookie. I keep thrashing my head sometimes. You lads mentioned way back about some projects built better for a bear and others for a bull. Trying to unpack who and what will truly catch bull fire. Does that resonate with you?
What are so the
Basically our discussion that some I thought like gaming. I think gaming and highly things that require high participatory engagement, I think are built better for a bear. But I'm not remembering this specific conversation or any ones like we say, oh, this is built for a bull. Is this clicking with you at all or no?
It is not. I'm not sure, Dunk Cookie, if you want to give a little bit of reference or clarity around that, be awesome. But yeah, look, Loki is there are very few people that you look at and you say, this person is an NFT person. You see a whale on the timeline. You see a Loki on the timeline. Loki hosts a space.
This guy hosts NFT Sundays when no one was talking about NFTs. He starts an account called NFT Renaissance, and like clockwork, an NFT Renaissance happened. So Loki, are you the deity of NFTs? How did you, what sort of magic or spells are you putting on the market over there, sir? GM.
This guy is one of the few retarded still talking about NFT. That's that's how it sounded. No, thanks guys for having me, GM. Yeah, I'm very surprised what's happening. I wasn't expecting NFTs rising. I was expecting people riding Ethereum. We have a great new narrative. I don't know if we're going to 10K, 15K. I don't know if it's maybe you guys have seen Tom Lee rapping a Pudgy. There may be a reason why people feel more confident to get more exposure to NFTs now instead of waiting the end of the cycle, where I think is going to be inevitable. I mean, people are ready now. They feel rich. They feel wealthier than before. And that's why I feel they have excitement in flexing NFTs, buying NFTs, whatever it's going to be. But yeah, extremely bullish. Also, art NFTs actually is way more bullish than our legacy IPs. I don't know if you guys are deep into that. I'm recently exploring.
Say that again.
I feel very confident to get exposure there and invest in or just collect.
Where was that though? I missed. You said where your preference over legacy NFTs. Where what ecosystem?
Sorry,
I missed where you said you're looking to get exposure here. I just missed where. What ecosystem?
Art NFTs.
Art. Gotcha.
Yeah, I feel like we had like 2 years bear, 3 years bear. Well, in 2025, probably thanks to Roll Paul, that is back pushing the whole space, especially in our NFTs. So I see great movement there and a lot of collectors with huge capital. So I'm even more bullish on art NFTs than legacy IP at the moment.
Speaking of our guy Tom Lee, Steve, he was on CNBC's Squawk Box this morning calling for $250,000 Bitcoin by the end of the year.
I saw that. That was awesome. But no, actually, I think Loki's point, like two things to address Loki's point. I'm probably not playing in art yet. I feel like this is one of those ones where I'm going to regret not playing in art, but I want to see new art, actually. I think that would be a really fun meta if we started to see some artists that are like legitimate, like really good artists coming out and dropping some stuff. And you'll have some good, some bad. But like when I would host those spaces for OCM on Thursdays for a while, and we'd have artists on, it was like real artists that you listened to, the way that they thought about art, the way they talked about art. I would love to see that, number one. Number two, I think the point that Loki made about Tom Lee, it's a great point as far as like Tom Lee is out talking to the world about ETH. he's talking to the world about crypto in a very real adoption way. And then you go to X, which is one of his main distribution platforms, and he is rocking a pudgy penguin. It's something to be said about the fact that, I mean, I talked about this in my tweet when I talked about the pudgy penguins and this, but it's worth bringing up again. When I was working at Progressive, leading public relations, the external sort of proactive PR end, we had a major partnership with another major brand. I'm not going to get into it because we do a lot of those, and that way I'm not giving away too much there. But I asked the social teams, because it's not my lane, both social teams, hey, what if we do a collab PFP and we both just wear it for a day or something? That would be fun. It might get some headlines. Because you're thinking in PR, you're like, what's going to get headlines? What gets the people going? And sort of like those, you know, the buzz feeds, which were really big at the time. It's funny to say now, but like that sort of publication was very popular at the time. And it's like, hey, they'll probably hit us on the PFP change. Both teams said absolutely not. Pudgies, I believe, are up to 250 PFP changes, including Tom Lee. And also, like, even in 2021, when companies changed over to Apes, which were the, you know, again, people, like, you may not realize how beloved Apes were at the time. Like, they were a very beloved thing in 2021, 2022. I know that there was, like, then some consternation and some people, you know, bought in too high, and then it became sexy to FUD them when the price was going down. Forget that, and just remember, at the time, imagine Apes, but the way people think about Pudgies right now at the time. And again, I think Apes are cemented. They're great. Like, I'm not saying they're not great right now, but I'm saying at the time, they were like the thing everybody wanted. They were printing these six-figure airdrops. A couple companies changed their PFPs to Apes, like Arizona Iced Tea, and they got hammered. They got hammered for it. Now we're seeing companies change to PFPs, and they're not. And I actually don't think, like somebody had said,
actually, this is kind of profound. Like, I think this is a big deal. I hadn't thought about this, but you just kind of, this kind of aha moment for me. I think Tom Lee is doing far more for our bags than just Ethereum. That's a big move. Like, the guy's, like, it'd be an insult to him to call him poor man sailor, but like, how many of the ordinal enjoyers wanted, you know, basically begged Sailor to rock a Bitcoin ordinal? You know,
by the way, he seems like less of a sorry, because I was gonna say he seems like Sailor. If I show Sailor to like my friends who are in my age bracket, sort of the 40 to 45 age bracket, he sounds a little crazy, like to them. Like, he sounds a little bit like almost dogmatic, religious. Tom Lee sounds like a finance guy talking about finance. And I think that's a major difference. So sorry,
Sailor,
go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, you could you could call it Sailor a cult leader, and I don't know if you could build a case that he's not. Like, it'd be harder to build a case that he's not a cult leader than one that he is a cult leader. Tom Lee just is a normal finance guy, like, very intelligent, very well spoken, and not Sailor's not, but he's a Bitcoin maxi. Like, that turns some people off. Now, the Bitcoin maxis love it, but there is a second best. Like, there is a world supercomputer. Like, there is more than just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not the only cryptocurrency. And while was that bet very right? Yes. I think that it's not just Tom Lee either. It's like, it's Tom Lee, Joseph Lubin. You've got now two people doing, you know, beating this ETH strategic reserve drum going on. And like, I think Tom Lee, back to the PFP swap, and then it's not just Tom Lee, it's you got Van Eck, you got like major financial institutions rocking an NFT PFP. I don't even know, like, I know obviously MoonPay was a catalyst to getting a lot of like those celebrities apes and stuff, but did MoonPay even ever swap their PFP to an ape last cycle?
I don't know if they did, but again, that wasn't, it wasn't a thing. That was like kind of the point, is like the fact that this has become somewhat normalized to swap your online identity as a brand is noteworthy. And yeah, like, I would say Lubin feels a little bit more like Sailor in some ways. Like, when I hear him talk, when I see him jump into the pool at a Rug Radio party, when I see those sorts of things, it's like, and then his dog jumps in after him and they go in to save the dog. It's like, that feels more Sailor-esque when it comes to ETH, which is understandable. It's his baby, right? Like, ETH is his baby. And so I get it. But Tom Lee, you hear him talk and you're like, one of the things that, like let me make this is not an analogy I'm making. I'm not comparing myself to Tom Lee or any way, shape, or form. But one of the things that in 2021, when I would go and talk to like whether it was universities, speaking at Harvard, whether it was going and speaking at a legacy company like, an Edelman, Edelman PR or Progressive or Allison and Partners, or all these companies that I spoke to back in the day, like when NFTs were starting to emerge, one of the reasons they liked hearing from me is they're like, hey, man, we know that guy is just a normal business person, yet here he is talking about JPEGs. And obviously I was talking about the technology behind them, how they worked, what they empowered. I wasn't talking about JPEGs going to the moon. But like the reason NFT NYC had threw me on the main stage a couple times, they're like, hey, this is a pretty normal person from a normal legacy job. And again, normal, like we get the joke here, the normie idea. It's like, it's almost like I LARP as a cartoon JPEG on the internet, but here I am like, I've led internal communications at Fortune 500s and whatnot. Tom Lee is that like on absolute, like the highest Pokemon of all of that. A traditional finance guy, has the respect, gets on stages, goes on the media tour, gets recognized. And that's what he's doing for ETH. Saylor does that for Bitcoin, but Saylor seems like, again, dogmatic, religious, cult-like in how he talks. I'm not knocking it. I love that Saylor's buying it. I love that Saylor's been holding the line since day one. But like Saylor's the type of guy, and he did, that goes on Joe Rogan because like he has that almost a little bit, just a little bit left of center on weird, right? Like just a little bit like not quite there. And I think I love him for it. It's what makes him great. But I think that's what's interesting about the ETH story right now. And that's what's interesting to see Van Eck. Again, we know Van Eck has been risk forward in the past, but Van Eck rocking up Pudgy Penguin, Tom Lee, all these different, like, that's not just, MetaMask and MoonPay, God bless him, rocking a Pudgy Penguin, love it. It's traditional finance and traditional people rocking a Pudgy Penguin, and that is a massive difference. So, Loki, saw your hand fly up. Go ahead and get back in here.
Yeah, thank you. No, great point. Saylor never endorsed ordinals, even if it was really, really good for miners. Here we are seeing totally different behavior from institution, from Tom Lee. Thanks for this new narrative. And we are going to see the ETF NFTs. So I think end of the year, right? That will change a lot of things. So at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, we really needed this new narrative for Ethereum. And probably it's been accelerated by what the Pudgy Penguins team is doing. So getting all these companies. And I listened to Luca yesterday. He was saying, at this point for a company, it's almost stupid to don't change their PFP for all the new followers, all the new engagement they get. So you see Tom Lee and his new company profile page, only 5K followers. They changed the PFP too. So, I mean, it makes total sense for them for extra engagement, extra eyes. And I guess these guys, they know the NFTs were the catalyst for the Ethereum bull run 4 years ago. So it's not just we like cute JPEGs, right? So guys, we are Gucci.
Yeah, you're right. It's like it is the I think it is worth saying, like, this is like, this is very much the PFP changeover has a different vibe to it. I think that's part of what we end up saying here, right? It's like there came a point where Pudgy had a couple folks change and they had some high, and they had some that they worked with and talked to. They didn't pay for any of them, as they said. But there came a point where it tipped over, where it was like, wait a minute, it's actually more beneficial for these companies to be changing their PFP over because of the social currency it gets. And I think look, we saw this to a point, Cap, during the 2022 market, where we would see a big influencer change their PFP was a big deal. Like even mid influencers, like, or even like just like sort of NPC influencers like myself would like make a PFP change from an ape to like a doodle or something else. And people would be like, oh my God, like what's going on here? It's like, well, no, it's just, flipping, trying this thing on, wearing a different outfit. It's pretty cool. And I think like the idea that we're going to potentially see biz dev teams getting people to change digital identity, like Moonbirds and Spencer and OCG, like, are we going to be surprised if one of these big card collecting sites or card collecting X users changes their PFP to a Moonbird. Like, that's the type of work they could do, because instead of being the art collector's PFP, Moonbirds can pivot very quickly into being the TCG PFP if they continue to do the things that they're going to do. So there is a social currency that goes along with that, which is now potentially positive, where, you know, if somebody, a collector's guru, X handle 12 months ago changed their PFP to a Moonbird, people be like, what's with the weird JPEG pixelated owl, bro? And now they'll do it and they'll be like, oh yeah, so it's part of this trading card. So maybe you know vibes. If you don't know vibes, it's kind of like, you know, they go to MTG tournaments. And so like that biz dev is very, very real. And the fact that they might be able to, we almost had an early run of this with celebrities being like Bored Ape. It was the club. Now we might see the potential for these PFPs to be able to do stuff like that.
We lost you there for a second, but we're back. Apologies for anyone that lost audio. I think we're probably good on the video. Spaces might have had a little glips. Shiba, go ahead and get back in here.
Yeah, I got really confused for a second because like Steve stopped talking, but his mic wasn't moving, and then I was like, "Somebody going to say something?" I think the most surprising thing about what's happening is, even for me, I felt like, okay, ETH's going to run NFTs, like nobody's buying them, like we're buying them to like kind of build the blue chip portfolios. And then here we are, quickly shifting 48 hours later, watching ETH continue to do well, and then NFTs continue to perform, and now we're getting that double bull effect where the NFT runs and then ETH runs, which is just like something we dreamed about to happen. I know it's short term, but hopefully this extends and affects more of ETH. And I even seen like ordinals and some of the other NFTs started moving too. So it's quite interesting to see a healthy crypto market along with a healthy stock market, with a healthy NFT market. Like, it's weird to me like how everything is coming together. And I don't think a lot of people are expecting that. And I think that's why a lot of people didn't buy Moonbirds, didn't buy Penguins, and didn't buy like some of these blue chips because they felt like they were going to invest in coins. And that's how I felt. I was moving some money around out of NFTs into some coins over the last month, which worked out either way because most of it was into Pengu, because I was like, I'm going to continue buying this until Luca flips it, which was going to happen eventually. It wasn't going to go to zero. It just unfortunately kept going down. I bought the dip 7 times and ran out of money. But yeah, it's nice to see the bags return because of that kind of effect. And I think now that people realize that crypto can go up and NFTs continue to go up, like, just because of the past doesn't mean we have to replicate that exactly. Money's going to flow in. We might hit USD all-time highs. I don't think we'll ever hit the ETH all-time highs, like 100 ETH on Apes, but Apes going to 40 ETH is totally doable. So that's just an example. So I think there's a lot of upside here. There's going to be some turbulence, but it definitely will get interesting towards the end of the year.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to get interesting. A couple things before we do daily market update here in a second. I will say the there is probably a conversation to be had on the other end of the daily market update where we have said, like, man, it would be awesome. Like, we should have been DCing into Bitcoin the whole time. It's like, there's a world here where we need to have the discussion with, we have JPEG season. Are we pulling it out and putting it into Bitcoin, ETH, and Sol? Because last time we said we can, or are we going to say the same thing before? Where it's like, hey, it's so cooked, or the opportunity's here, or so. I think one of the strategies I'm changing this cycle, Cap, which we can talk about on the other end of the daily market update too, if you want, is if there are mints and I get access to mints and those mints cook and I sell those mints and I get some cash, rotating into ETH that I have staked, rotating into Bitcoin, rotating into Sol that I have staked. I'm trying to do more of that this cycle so that if and when the music stops, and maybe it doesn't, but feels like ETH NFTs are on a ripper. I gave it, by the way, you want to know how back we are? I'll tell you 2 reasons we're back, and then we'll go daily market update. Number one, we got 230 listeners in the room at 8:48. That feels good. Like when we're in a bull market, it feels like and things are going well. More people are tuning in and we're ripping up a little bit. So that's fun in the concurrent listener group. Number two, was talking to a friend of mine who is tangentially interested in crypto and stocks. Person who is a friend, my daughter, one of my daughter and son's friends, their parents. I found out at one point he listens to the show occasionally. He made a comment to me. He's like, I follow you on X. I try to understand it. I don't understand it, but I try. Good guy. By the way, bought his kids to get them into the stock market, like a share of Disney, a share of Chipotle, like that sort of stuff. Also bought a little bit of Bitcoin ETF, and he's like, it's been ripping. It's felt pretty good. Gave him a tip on the ETH ETF. That's how you know we're back. If I'm comfortably saying like, look, man, you feel good about that one. Feels like we're just getting started here. That feels good. But Cap, let's daily market update, and then I want to kind of talk a little bit of strategy, and we can do it on the other end of the interview too. But I want to talk a little bit of strategy going into a bull market if we really are going into rippers, because I played pretty well in the last bull market, but I definitely did not play my hand as well as I could have in the last bull market. So I'm going to play daily market update, and I think we should be talking strategy.
The daily market update straight to your brain. Powered by ApeCoin, no hype, just gains. Moving on 8chain, we bringing the heat. NFT spends alpha, never miss a beat. 8chain on top, now we bringing the flex. The home of NFTs, fees now what's next?
Come on, my head top, but you want the time to chop off for one time.
It is time for the daily market update powered by ApeCoin, the home of NFTs. ApeChain has it all, bringing culture, fun, and community to the blockchain. Dive in and see why ApeChain is on top. Cap.
Yes, sir. It's an exciting day for a market update. We are going to start. You know what? Let's start at the top. Let's start with NFTs because that's the most exciting section here today. Pudgies leading the way in volume, nearly 1,000 ETH traded up 12% of the day to 16.39. Apes about 500 ETH themselves up 18% of the day. Up to 12.95. Moonbirds continue to soar under Spencer, up 11% of the day to 1.7. Little Pudgies also matching that 1.7, up 13% of the day. Azuki up 24%, almost 25% to 2.37. Art blocks getting a lot of volume. It's hard to see what exactly driving those, but we showed you the fine art sales earlier. Mutants almost 2 ETH themselves, up 15% of the day. Doodles up 13% to 1.12. Project Aeon, again, that's the SPX 6900 up to 1.85, 40% on the day. And another big winner is the Mythics up to almost a third of an ETH, 36% lift on the day. Green across the board in NFT land. And Steve, do you notice one thing that's missing from the NFT leaders on the day? You're muted, or it's me.
Sorry, no, I'm looking at it. You got a bunch on there. What is missing from the movers of the day that you're referring to?
First time in a while, we don't see an OpenSea farm. So I'm sure.
Well, I mean, over the weekend they don't have farms. That's why. We'll see one tomorrow.
I'm sure they're doing just fine on their fees off of this, but that's another story as well. Someday, maybe I will. Maybe I'll bring that up on the timeline to try to push them into dropping their tokens sooner than later. Looking at memes, though, Doge up 8% of the day. Not leading the way. That would actually be our favorite. Pingu up 21%. It touched 4 cents a little bit ago. They say $1 is programmed. Trump up 11% of the day. Bonk up 3% of the day. Pepe up 3% of the day. Sheeb up 4% of the day. I'm going to actually shift over real quick and look at a 30-day snapshot here. We've got Pingu up 235%. Bonk up 143%. Mog up 89%. Rect up 79%. Fartcoin up 66%. SPX up 62%, Doge up 51%, Pepe up 39%, and Shiba up 31%. That's in the last 30 days, an absolute heater in the world of alts. Even runes are green today, with the exception of Gizmo and Gob. But big day over there for pups, up 25% of the day. And last but not least, Bitcoin dominance has come to an end, or we maybe peaked on the Bitcoin dominance, although if our guy Tom Lee is correct, and it's got a 2x in it from here all the way up to 250K, it'll be interesting to see how these others perform. But ETH up 2% to 38.20, XRP up 1% to 355, Solana rapidly approaching 200 again, up 6% on the day. As I mentioned, Doge up 8%, and Cardano pushing $1 up 8% on the day. That's our daily market update, brought to you by ApeChain. ApeChain on top, Steve, home of NFTs and some memes cooking over there as of late as well.
Yeah, no, it feels good. It feels good to see all of these things moving well and cooking pretty well. I mean, look, again, like I kind of like look at like where I'm going to spend my time, energy, and money. And I think like this is what's going to be interesting is like the telling part about if it's a JPEG bull market is, are we just with existing liquidity betting on the existing JPEGs here? Do we just see people running into real businesses being built on the blockchain? Is that the move that happens? Or is there a world where you talked about seeing degen mints today and all the things that we're seeing? Like, do we just see a bunch of degen mints that come out of this sucker and we see those things running? And when you get those, it's so funny. Last bull market, I used my JPEG profits, a lot of them. I mean, I did take some profits off the table, don't get me wrong, but I used a lot of them to roll into other JPEGs that I really wanted. And I'll give you an example of a bad decision. I made a ton of money on a Punks Comics mint pass. Like, or I made a ton of money in a couple of them. So I had like 3 or 4 Punks Comics. I diversified by selling pre-mint pass, and then I got a couple mint passes, sold one of the mint passes, and I immediately rolled it into a Gutter Cat gang. Now, at the time, it was a great buy. I bought a Gutter Cat gang for whatever it was, 1, 2, 3 ETH, something like that. Ripped up to like 10 at one point, and ripped all the way back down. I ended up selling it at a loss. I round tripped it. In theory, it was the right move, and I could have made a move there. But like, part of me is like, you know what? Imagine if I sold that and I flipped that back over into Bitcoin or ETH or Sol, again, some of the majors. And I feel like this cycle, I'm going to try to be more thoughtful about whether it's Rect is a bet that I'm making that's a little higher on the risk end. Pengu is a bet that I've already made, but I'm continuing to potentially make that's a little higher on the risk end. The idea of profits and where you roll them, whether you buy yourself a nice something or other, or you roll them into something else. I'm curious if like, you know, how risk on we get in this. It's just a matter of like kind of talking through like what we learned from previous cycles moving into the next one. So I don't know. I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't precise, but this was shared with me at a young age. One of my mentors called it, and I'm going to apologize. I don't remember who actually coined the theory or the formula, but he called it the millionaire's formula, and it's very simple. And I think it, while not only applies to traditional, probably can't see, not only applies to traditional, it applies to trading as well. The theory is essentially 50%. I probably should write that down. You whatever you make, you should live off half. So if you make 100 grand a year, you should live off 50%. All your expenses should be half of what you make. 20% set aside for taxes. If you're a W-2 employee, you don't have to worry about that. 10% you should get back. I think when I originally heard it, they called it tithing, whether you want to tithe to your church or give back to the community or someone in need. Then 10% put in a long-term fund and never touch it. So in this case, go buy Bitcoin with that, never touch it. And then lastly, 10% for a rainy day fund. So I think same thing holds, like tweak it a little bit, but basically if you're trading, you have a big win. Maybe you keep 50% of it in play to roll into the next trade. Certainly set aside some for taxes, certainly set aside some to buy your Bitcoin with. And I think like, I did not do this in NFT trading season last year. I did it on certain wins, and I'm grateful for that. I would have been much further ahead had I did it on every single trade. And it's very easy when things are ripping to just want to keep firing it back because, again, well, I could go mint 3 of these things or I could mint 30 of these things, and it works until it doesn't. So I think having a plan, whether it's 50, 20, 10, 10, 10, or your own percentages, but being disciplined to do that on every single, it's hard. It's way easier to say it than it is to actually do it, especially at peak euphoria. But I think you'd be glad that you did come when the music stopped. So yeah, that's something that I too will look to. I should today sit down and what are my exact percentages? How much of this do I want to roll forward? How much do I want to move to? You know, I shared earlier the cycle. I've been adding to my Bitcoin bag, adding to my Solana bag. I'd stopped buying ETH, but now I'm back in the ETH trade. So whether and also like deciding whether what I'm buying spot and not touching, whether what I'm going to actually trade. Like, so there's a lot I need to think through like today because I think we're just getting warmed up, and I think this continues on for a good run. You know, if we have anything close to the run we had over the second half of 21, like silly season is here, and it's easy to get caught up in the euphoria of silly season and not set aside proper allocations from your wins so that you're not kicking yourself come whether it's next April and you got hung with a big tax bill or the cycle's over and you didn't stack as much Bitcoin as you would have liked. So yeah, I think that's great sage advice to make the plan now not after you hit 5 trades in a row and then you're like, oh, I just made all this. What it's much easier to just parlay it forward when you don't have a plan in place.
Well, like I'll put it this way, like I to make an analogy, Cap and I talk about working out sometimes. I've had like a horrendous probably month and a half. June was a busy month for me. I fell off the wagon. That was expected, but July hasn't picked up. Here's what I've noticed about working out for me and for I think a lot of people. When you have either a routine, a schedule, a plan, like especially one of the reasons I loved CrossFit, I've talked about when I did CrossFit in the past, one of the reasons Dawn loves it is you show up and they have your workout, your lifting, your stretching, your cardio, everything written for you. You show up, you do it, you go through it. When you lay out, say, let's say you do a traditional lifting plan and you say, today, every day, I'm going to run, tomorrow, I'm going to run up, whatever it is, chest and tries. Day after that, same thing, back and buys. Day after that, legs. Day after that, shoulders. Day after that, abs. Day after that, rest or active recovery. When you write it down and you just follow a script and a plan, or meal prepping, when you are trying to eat healthy, finding what your proper routine is for eating and prepping. If I prep 5 meals Monday through Friday on Sunday for me to eat after coffee with Captain, I'm going to cook. But if I don't, and by cook is the wrong word there because it sounds like I'm going to actually make food. If I prep those meals, I'm going to eat them because they're there. If I don't, I'm much more likely to say, hey, I'm just going to get a burrito from Chipotle today or whatever. Point being, going into a cycle like this, if you have a plan, like Cap said, to say, if these numbers get silly, if I'm taking profits that are in ETH measures, but actually are thousands of dollars, I'm going to allocate 20% of that right off the bat to taxes. And then I'm going to allocate another 10. Like, if you have this plan going into it, you're going to be way more successful. Don't wait for it to say, I'll figure it out when it happens. So just putting it out there for people, like, it's something that I think if you've survived one cycle or 2 cycles, there's an opportunity for you to look at it and say, if this gets silly, this could be the one you set yourself up for all future cycles to be comfortable no matter what happens. So look, Cap, that said,
I got one other quick news. It was breaking news earlier this morning. I just want to cover it real quick. We can circle back to it later or punt it to tomorrow, but I do want to at least hit on it before the day gets away from us. I haven't even digested it fully yet, but it is worth a deeper conversation. Big announcements coming out of Kaido this morning. For those looking in, I'll not going to read the whole thing, but I'll TLDR it. Announced the introduction of G Kaido mechanism. These are built based on feedback we've seen across CT and our community to ensure sustainability, less noise, and improve quality of both users and projects. Rolling out both the updates in the G Kaido mechanism over the next few weeks. Here's the updates coming to the leaderboards. There's a lot here, but essentially introducing a reputation threshold measured in YAP, smart followers, CT mindshare to ensure real accounts rank, to prevent AI bots and focus more on signal over grinding. There'll be a dedicated section to highlight consistent, loyal, high quality contributions, more focus on growing genuine audience and presence first. We've seen with various initially small accounts, which have grown significantly over time, utilizing Kaido, emphasizing interest and alignment instead of rewards to help both farmers and genuine community members, restructuring leaderboards from pre and post TG format into category-based groupings, building a culture of retroactive, milestone-based, and ROI-driven rewards for better provable results and more focus on genuine interest, adding public topic leaderboards, implementing an improved global slashing mechanism to combat misinformation, engagement farming, group farming, and low-effort AI slops. That's an interesting one. And then this G Kaido mechanism, it's a mechanism to be built around 5 core pillars: thought leadership, attention, participation, ownership, and culture, designed to recognize meaningful contributions from a diverse set of stakeholders, both in Kaido and the broader crypto ecosystem. Thought leadership for those that can contribute meaningful to the broader crypto conversation. Attention for those that bring new audiences to Kaido and actively evangelize the ecosystem. Participation for those that are engaged in the Kaido ecosystem, yappers, capital launch pads, and more. Ownership for holders of staked Kaido and certain related derivatives. Culture for Yappy Borrow holders and PFP users. Kaido culture builders and active community participants. G Kaido utilities will earn a share of platform fees, get priority access to deals, signal alignment with partner projects within the Kaido ecosystem, and access to priority features on Kaido. We'll be sharing more of this mechanism soon. Steve, I don't know what you think. All I know is the best content creator on CT thinks it's great, loves to see it. So Clemente has my vote.
Yeah, I'll give that a review. I mean, my first glance is I want to see how it plays out in practice. Like they talk about like what those potential rewards are. That's the interesting part to me. Because right now I have a bunch of Kaido staked. I don't get much for it. Been considering unstaking that, so maybe that'll be good. Them getting gaps and new leaderboards, that's great. I don't need a gold star. I need to know what that gold star is correlated to and like how they're connecting those to brands that care about it. That's helpful. So I know we got our interview coming up here. Really interesting discussion. But
Also,
I want to hit on the other end.
Also buried the lead on our getting some love for the ENS jingle of the day. Definitely buried the lead there during the both the more you know and our daily market update, because we were remiss in not mentioning ENS domains, in particular threadguy.eth. I don't know if you saw this go down over the weekend, but someone had it and was trying to sell it to Threadguy. He told him, "You're stupid, you're crazy." I think it was listed at 2 ETH. It then sold and it got relisted for 4 ETH. He said, "You're stupid, you're crazy." And then it got relisted and sold for 8 ETH, all within like an hour. So I don't know if it was someone just effing with Threadguy or not, but then he capitulated and bought a bunch. He spent like a couple grand on like threadguy.io and a bunch of different traditional domains because someone was printing off of his ENS domain. But I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. We'll talk through it on the other end of it because I want to do Ape Chain Architects here. But I have some thoughts on the Kaido leaderboard situation. Obviously, ENS domain, shout out to them, and I know people are stoked about that. And I probably should have had the more on ENS domains. We'll save that for Wednesday. But let's get to Ape Chain Architects and talk a little Zenko. And I'll hand it off to you after the Ape Chain Architects song. Cap, I know we're welcoming on our guy, Jason. We have talked to a few times now on stage. I will hand it off to you to kick everything off, but excited to finally connect and get the show going here.
Yeah, looking forward to this
one.
Go for it.
No, I was going to say I haven't seen you guys since Lisbon, right? So it's great to see you again.
Paris, right?
Paris.
Oh, Paris. Sorry. Yeah, Paris. Yes, You're right.
Yeah, great to connect. Long time coming. And if you had to connect with Jason, you're in for a treat today. We also have the brand account Zenko is up on stage. Give that a follow if you've not already done so. We're going to talk about Zenko Protocol and all they're building on Ape Chain today. But before we get into that, Jason, for those that aren't familiar, maybe not connected with you yet, do you mind sharing a little bit about your backstory? It's pretty impressive. We talk about these big brands and rocking PFPs. I think people might be blown away with when they discover the big brands that you've been working with and helping onboard into our wild and wonderful world of crypto and on-chain that it's kind of been flying under the radar. But before we get into all things Zenko, do you mind just sharing a little more about your journey and any background you'd care to share?
Yeah. So Jason, so I'm the CEO of Zenko. I started my journey in marketing around 28 years ago now. And I've been predominantly working with very large enterprise businesses across tech, consumer electronics, finance, but pretty exclusively helping them build pipeline. So my whole life has been about how to reach somebody, how to motivate them to learn about your product, and then how to push them through your funnel. And it's amazing how, to be frank, Web3 really hasn't had a big impact on that space yet, but the next 3 years, it's going to totally change. With Web3 and Web4, it's going to put a lot of businesses on the back foot that aren't already starting to think about it. So, I've kind of spent 25 years in Web2. We had the birth of internet. We had the birth of internet marketing. We had the birth of search engine marketing, social media marketing, all that stuff. And now, we're really, I think, at a tipping point for the next 25 years to be God knows what being built on Web3 and Web4. So yeah, it's incredibly exciting.
I agree, and not to just jump right into it, but I am genuinely curious. You've been talking with these big brands. I mean, for all intents and purposes, since you've been in crypto, have you noticed any sentiment change on their part over, let's say, the last few months, where we were just talking Tom Lee going to media tours and and these ETH treasury companies, and it just seems, it seems like the public perception has shifted somewhat dramatically from individuals to TradFi to big brands. Have you noticed that? And I'm not trying to pry anything that you're under NDA.
No. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And let me give you something not in context first, and then something a bit more in context. So, for example, you guys were talking earlier about the NFT reserves and corporates buying NFTs, right? And genuinely, I hear people laughing about that as if like it's almost like a joke. I'll tell you, right, for years I've been going into some of the biggest brands in the world's offices, and the first thing that they want to show you is the new piece of art they've bought or the new piece of art they've had commissioned and put in their wall. They have historically, whether you're talking about big brands like IBM through the big software guys, particularly in the tech space, they've always supported up-and-coming artists, but it's always been with a view to parking some money in something, A, that they can show off, but B, it just sits on their balance sheet. So all these big, nice glass offices are filled with art, and they're not art they've gone and bought from a shop. Genuinely, they are stuff that's been commissioned mostly by up-and-coming artists. So honestly, for the people that think that NFTs are not going to be bought by corporates, you are totally wrong. And it's more likely to be, I mean, like literally, you guys were just talking about Fidenza. I was walking down my hotel carpet, walking down my hotel lobby. The carpet looks like a Fidenza, and I'm like, that's a sign from God. Buy a Fidenza. Literally, my carpet outside my room looks like a Fidenza. So, it may be more art, and maybe some might rock a PFP. Now, if we talk about in my space, we've been talking about, there's been one consistent thing that's happened over the last 25 years for me, and that is the easy things have got a lot harder. And what I mean by that is we used to get 30% click-through rate on an email. We used to get 35% conversion on a form on a landing page. We used to get traffic from Twitter for 3-4 pence, and 10% of that would convert, right? Facebook, 8 pence. All of those things are really starting to not work as well and becoming more and more expensive. And I'd say what's accelerated in the last year is we've been pitching ideas from how to use blockchain to incentivize people, and we can talk about rewards, all the way through to metaverses as a way of engaging, right? Don't build lots of stores everywhere in every town. Just build one online store and invite the world in and talk to them there. Right? We've been talking to people about this for 3 years. The last 6 months, we've had more inbound phone calls saying, that thing you talked about, that piece of technology, because I think people are starting to realize that, there's the old way of marketing, the old way of communicating, the old way of building a community are not working. And I'll tell you something, and this is God's honest truth. No matter who we talk to, everybody made the same mistake 15 years ago, right? And this, for me, highlights the value of what you guys are doing. Right, so I'm a big fan. I've been in the ape community since Bored Apes came out. What's happening is what happened about 15 years ago. Web2 companies came along and said, "Here's this amazing free offer for us to look after your community for you. So stick your community on Facebook, and you know what? We'll manage that community for free for you. Here you go. Look, we'll give you all the tools you need to manage the community." Right. So Facebook was born. Twitter came along. Obviously, ones that disappeared, some have come and gone. And these brands have chased those to build their communities. What's happening now is they've woke up to the fact that they only get something between 1% and 3% organic reach in those ones. So they've spent years building followers. I was with one of the world's biggest networking companies last week. They've spent years building 750,000 followers on their Twitter, and they get 1% organic reach. That's it, 1%. So they have to pay Twitter to reach their own customers and their own fans. And I keep saying to people, the mouse dies on the trap because it doesn't understand why the cheese is free. And 15 years ago, you thought these are free tools. These are amazing. This is genuinely what they're waking up to. And I believe the builders out there that are building on Web3 are giving brands the opportunity to win those customers back. They really are. It's a big open space for people to step into because everybody's frustrated. Why do I have to pay Facebook to reach my own fans? It's a real challenge out there. So yeah, I would say it's been a hard slog for 3 years. The last 6 months, our deal flow's just gone crazy with people saying, "You talked about it a while ago. Can you come in and can you kind of share how we would do it now?" Not saying they're rushing to rock a pudgy PFP, but it's a very positive start for the space, I think.
Very exciting. It's got to start somewhere, right? Like this shift, I expected that, but it's great to hear it, because I think what we're seeing, and this is also why I'm so bullish over the next six plus months, is most people, the overwhelming majority of people, don't really have any clue what's just begun. Maybe if they're really into TradFi, they've maybe caught a Tom Lee clip. Maybe they're aware of like Bitcoin nearing all-time highs again, and ETH's on the run up. But I think most people don't fully understand that this sentiment has shifted, I think, dramatically when you talk about these big brands, right? Like, this is like from where they were even last cycle, when we had like the Nikes and Starbucks of the world entering in. Like, I got to think maybe both those play out differently if either the regulatory environment, the tailwinds that we have now were in place then, or if they were later, if they got started this cycle. And it's a really interesting time to see not just what, but how these notable brands are going to participate in crypto and Web3.
And here's something for you, right, Chris? So around 2.5 years ago, we worked really hard to get on the MasterCard innovation hub list, which basically means we can go to any bank with a solution and say, look, we've got this great solution to help you engage with customers. When we did that, we almost had to hide the fact that we used the blockchain. And when they asked about the underlying technology, we were a little bit like, oh, nobody cares what servers Facebook are running on, right? As long as it meets your objectives. Let's not talk about the tech. Let's talk about, oh, you want something that's transparent. You want something that's low fees. You want something that's auditable. Oh, brilliant. Okay, yeah, that's the solution that we're using. We literally almost had to hide the fact we're blockchain. Now, we put it almost right at the beginning, and people go, brilliant, you're using the blockchain. And that's been and it's not been a slow shift. It's almost been like overnight. It's now an advantage for us to say we're built on the blockchain. Brilliant. We were going to ask you that question. Thank you.
This is wild. I think I'm going to have to have you say that again, because this is we went from, if you mentioned blockchain, you might have been exited out of the conference room like as soon as the words got out of your mouth, or they like snickered, or they laughed, or it was, to your point, like we many of us felt like we had to hide it, like couldn't mention the tech, like just talk about what it could unlock and what it could do. Now it's getting to the front of the line. Now it's like table stakes. Now if you're not building on chain, it's like, what is this, 1990?
Exactly. You're one of those non-blockchain people. I mean, it's been, and that's why I'm with you guys. I think this run is going to be very dominated by real utility, like real world use. And of course, in our little space, there's still going to be memes that are going to run, that are going to drive community. There's going to be, PFP NFTs, because the money that's made on those utilities are going to end up somewhere, right? You know what I mean? So they're still going to go. But if you'd have said to me 3 years ago, oh my God, like we're going to get this, president of the US that's going to announce a strategic reserve and say we're never going to sell. I genuinely cannot believe people are bearish at this point. It's like Bitcoin's so close to an all-time high, yet sentiment almost feels, I guess we go back to that chart, right? We're in disbelief, aren't we? And anybody who thinks we're not in disbelief is even deeper in disbelief, right? But everyone's like, is this true? Is this like really happening? And people are still shorting Bitcoin. It's like we're nearly in price discovery. Like, who shorts? I'm with you, Steve. Like I just can't short anything, because it feels like you're betting against the system, right? And I've never shorted a thing in my life, but I know people do, and I'm like, why would I can't think of any thesis why you would short here, and you think, oh, this is it, we've topped now, and it's going to pull back to 60K. It's like, we're never seeing 60K again. Like seriously, what are these people talking about? And it's still, I think we just hate ourselves that much that we can't believe it's happening, or we're so, I have to say, can I just say personally, I love listening to you guys talking about this journey and this run, right? And I promise you, in 6 months' time, you'll be like, super cycle, baby. Look, who said we need to take profits? Like, because this is my third run now, and we always start this point of the ball by saying, take 50%, put it to one side, and then something will pop up and you'll go, oh, hang on, wait a minute. Like, I think I haven't got one of those.
We need someone to build this wallet. Who's building this right now? Build the wallet where anytime you flip something for a gain, you can't even touch 50% of it. It just goes, it locks it away. It's like automatically transfers it to your cold wallet with Bitcoin. Like, someone needs to build this because you're right. Like, as much as I truly believe everything I said, that is a plan that I'll play with the percentage a little bit, but I will do my best to execute something similar this cycle. I also know myself, and when I get in the midst of a heater and I feel like I can't miss, I'm like Klay Thompson shooting threes unguarded. I deviate from the plan. Like, I know me, and this is like someone who's I like to think I am pretty disciplined. So you talked about like working out. That was like I've hit my step goal 155 days in a row. Like, I work out 7 days a week. Like, I'm disciplined when it comes to things I set my mind on. This is sticking to like, I'll do the plan, but then sticking to it at peak euphoria, it's one of the more challenging things I haven't done it yet, because last cycle I didn't do it at peak euphoria. And I'm trying to convince myself I will this time, but it's a challenge. Hey, I know you mentioned this cycle is going to be about real utility, and you mentioned these big businesses and the big brands. I think that's probably a pretty good segue right into what Zenko is building and how you might connect a couple of those dots. No?
Yeah, and let's talk about 8chain too, right? So we realized that brands had this disconnect problem with value. They were asking people to fill in forms. They were asking people to sign up for webinars, particularly when COVID, because that just went crazy. They were asking people to download case studies and all this type of stuff, to watch product videos. And nobody seemed to have any time. The clicks became more expensive. And genuinely, people were like, well, they realized that I'm giving you data. What am I getting back? So we started a number of early trials to say, well, what would meet value with value? And the thing that we really worked generically across everybody was actually saying, look, we'll do some good in the world for your time. Now, we can't give you money because brands won't give you money to learn about their products. But what we can do is we can do a good. So we signed with Google Cloud. We did over 1,000 tons of carbon offsetting with Google Cloud on chain. We did our first football match. We did a net zero match down at Chelsea with UNICEF. That was 350 tons of carbon. We planted 10,000 trees with HP. So we were like, it's a reward. All of these things are about like saying, right, well, you give us your time, attention, energy, movement to learn about our brand, and we will give you a value in the world that is a good. And we learned two things really quickly. One was you have to let people choose, right? So do this thing and plant a tree. Well, that would work for me because I live in the middle of the countryside. I'm surrounded by trees, and I'm like, trees are important to me. I love looking at trees, right? But somebody that lives near the ocean might care about ocean plastics. Somebody that lives in a city centre might care about homelessness or knife crime or mental health or children in food poverty, as we politely put that in the UK, right? So we had to let people choose. And the other thing was we had to give people something to show off. And that's where the blockchain comes in to fix those two things. So we have a single unit of currency, that's the value, that allows people to choose. So I earn a token, and then I spend that token on a good. And then once that good is executed, I get an NFT back as my proof of execution, but also something that I can show for the good that I've done. So my blockchain wallet contains in the metadata all of the summary of all the good I've done in my life, but also I graphically have a nice representation to do that. And our job really over the last 3 years has been to figure out how brands might use these tokens to engage with their prospects or their customers. So our first application was called Learn. This is the easiest one to understand. It's like advert on LinkedIn, give us 20 minutes of your time and we will offset a value, a ton of carbon, for example. Okay, brilliant customer for that, big networking company. We reduced their cost per lead by $400 and the cost of the offer was $40. So it's literally like giving brands free money. It's like, do you want your marketing to be more effective? Include this as an offer. Just like a buy one, get one free or a try for 90 days kind of thing, right? You give us your time and energy, learning about our stuff. We give you a token, you go pick a course. It's super simple to execute. We're building out play to earn applications. So we've had over 100,000 wallets built on Ape Chain from our first little Telegram game, but we've got more coming. More importantly, today we're launching our next application, which I think you'd like, Chris, based on what you just said, which is our Move to Earn app called Zenko Move.
Wow. Really?
But yeah, so our logo is a fox because Zenko in Japanese means performing a virtuous act. That's where the brand comes from. So it's everybody involved in Zenko is doing good things, basically. We're like a do-good layer. So this is our Move logo. Don't know if you can see it, where we've got people doing things, running, swimming, cycling, rowing.
You're not kidding, like tugging on my heartstrings. Like I'm not making it up. 155 days in a row on my sweat coin, which I think this has maybe got me 17 cents after 155 days. And then I have
let's talk about that.
I have a Kudus ring or Kudus.
Yeah.
On the box.
Yeah.
So I'm really into. I was late to Steppen. I'm really into Move to Earn, but I've yet to capitalize on it. So yeah, this is right up my alley.
So let me explain how we're fundamentally different. So excitingly, you can plug in any of your existing apps, right? So I've got Whoop, I've got the Aura Ring. So you can plug these in. You can plug in Strava, Fitbit, Runkeeper, Peloton, right? So what we're not about is you challenging yourself as an individual. There are plenty of apps that do that, right? We're not trying to compete with those. What we are is we're a team-based missions app. We looked at all the data and we believe that the data tells us that if people work towards a goal as a team, try and motivate each other, they're much more likely to keep going, okay? So actually, if you go to Zenko Move, that's specifically what I'm talking about right now. And there's a really nice video on that and stuff on there. So this is what's launching. We've never told anybody the URL, actually, because the Ape Chain guys are actually just with the team now pushing Glyph live, which I'll talk about in a second. But Zenko Move is for the application. So zenkomove.com. So what will happen is you'll sign up. We've got some missions that you can join in. So typically crypto themed, we've got our mission to the moon. And we have a warm up, which is get to the top of Kilimanjaro. And then we've got 5 separate moon missions that get us to the moon. But the kicker is we want you to win together as a team. So you create a team and you all compete with each other on either a distance or a time or an activity-based goal. And doing that, you're earning XP, which convert into tokens that you can spend on a good. So one of the key differences is that we're team-based. Now, you can just use it to track yourself, but think of this, Chris, right? You are mega motivated, okay? As I can now tell, and I've met you in person, so you know you're pretty lean, right? So, but you might have friends that you also want to motivate. So what this will enable you to do completely for free, as of later this evening, once Ape Chain give us the go-ahead, you'll be able to create your own mission for your family and friends and say, come on, guys, right, we're going to have a little competition, or we're going to have a mission and we're going to go from East Coast to West Coast, or we're going to climb to the top of Whistler, or whatever it is, right? You can set your own challenges that are either based on time or distance, add your friends. So maybe, you know, for me, I'd love to get my mum out doing more, right? So I'm going to set a mission and get my mum out trying to do, 15 minutes every day of walking, because I know if she does that for a month, it will start to change behavior and be part of her day. So one of the things we're very different about is we're team-based. The other thing is our tokenomics are very, very different to things like Steppen and Sweatcoin. Now, the missions that have rewards are funded by brands. So we have brands, we have professional sports clubs. They're going to be adopting Zenko Move within their communities. So they're effectively going to put up the rewards. They're going to buy the tokens and they're going to distribute it to the people in the Move missions. There is no inflationary tokenomics. In fact, our tokenomics are deflationary because 100% of the protocol fees go towards they go to support the token price. So the community can elect to use that money to buy back and burn, or they can use it for other things that help grow the community. But all of the fees are contained within our circular ecosystem. And I mean, not being too promoty here, but I mean, we've stealth launched. We're sub 8 million market cap. You just mentioned Steppen, right? Steppen went over 4 billion market cap last bull run, and they only had one app, which was get out there and run. And for us, Move is only one of our 5 apps we're bringing to market in this bull run alone, because we're not driven by the market. We're driven by customers saying, this is how we would use it. How do we want people to engage? So like I said, learn was our first, play was our second, and that's going to keep extending with more games. We've got some customer specific ones. But move is one that we've been really passionate about because it's amazing for mental health. It's about getting people in teams. And we've really hit a good vein of excitement within the professional sports communities to get their fans doing something, like log walking to the stadium, for example, or do missions around matching your favorite player during a week or something. Because also what it does is it gives them opportunities to bring in lower level sponsors. So I'm not suggesting the clubs are going to buy the tokens themselves. It'll be the sponsors that sponsor missions. So we're talking to people like Hewlett Packard and F1 Racing on doing move-based activations around F1s as a good example. Lenovo's another example there too. But at a grassroots level, sports clubs just doing local activations with their fans. So it's a completely free tool, but if you want to apply rewards, you have to purchase Zenko tokens to distribute them. And all of the protocol fees go to support it. And this, for me, partially explains why ApeChain is so important to us, because we're talking, this is not for the crypto community. Now, of course, what I hope, of course, is that, the Web3 guys come on board and they can set up, you could set up fans of your show and log all of their miles and movement they do and feature in the global leaderboard, right? There'll be ApeChain teams. There'll be, I'll be in the Rep Guys one, right? So there'll be all sorts of Web3 teams, but we've got to make this almost seamless for the Web2 community. So the ApeChain has got two really powerful things. A, it gives us the ability to do things like gasless mints on the back end. It has all of the tools to integrate real world financial applications into ApeChain, and it is incredibly low fee. I mean, it's super low fee and it's super fast. But on the front end, their Glyph wallet means that everybody that signs up for Zenko Move will be issued with a wallet, and they will not know they've got a wallet. It won't be called a wallet. It'll just be their email address. Web3 is totally abstracted. There's no signing pop-ups. There's no remembering my seed phrase. But everybody that downloads the app from iOS, Android, available later today, or signs up on the website, they will be provided with an ApeChain wallet, but they just won't know it. And then inside the app, they'll have their points, which will be essentially the tokens, and they'll have their earned collections, which will be NFTs. But again, we never talk about them as NFTs. So we're going to be providing some really great art. We've got a brilliant artist, a Marvel artist called Adam Polina, who's done a collection for each of our stages. So, people get little badges like did my first 10K, did my first 50K. But actually, if you complete each of our stages, you're going to unlock some really special digital art on ApeChain. So we're also sneakily in the background trying to bring NFTs to what you guys talked about as normies earlier in the show, but they're totally gasless. They'll just appear in their wallet, and that wallet is Glyph, but they just don't need to worry about it. And you guys were there in Paris when we were finalizing, was ApeChain the chain that we were going to build on? Because we did our pilots on Polygon. We really wanted an EVM, but there were plenty of chains that we could have gone to. And the exciting thing about ApeChain for the future is that everything we're doing now is very Web 2-y. It's like an app, it's like a webinar, it's like a learn platform. We've just done our first Shop to Earn, which is a professional football club in the UK. Every shirt you buy feeds a child in food poverty. And we've got about 50 professional clubs we're going to roll that out within the next 50 months now. It's dead simple, next 5 months. It's dead simple, literally buy a product and a good happens, but in their city. But all of that is very kind of Web 2-y. The exciting bit for our customers from MasterCard, HP, Google, Lenovo, Samsung, sports, the exciting thing for them actually is metaverses. It's the next place to engage, because we're a decentralized engagement platform that is mostly very Web 2-y and flat. In a year's time, almost all of these things will have a virtual back end, if that makes sense. Come and see the product, come play with the product, or come and play a game, but that game will be somewhere. And of course, ApeChain have persistent other side coming very soon. I'm mega excited about Bathroom Blitz. I've seen the graphics. I know the team that have built it really well. It's somebody's going to win that space. And, us being on ApeChain feels like it's the right place to be with all the developments that are happening on the other side too, because that's a lens to the future, whether it's totally immersive or it's augmented. You know, the technology is kind of moving there. So we're super, you know, I mean, I say, you know, you just need to look at me on Twitter and I've got my Bored Ape, right? So, you know, I spent most of this bear market just buying Bored Apes because I only had one last run, because I bought mine at $3,000 and thought, when they got to $8,000, I was like, I'm not going to buy another. They'll come back down, right? And they just never came back down. So I'm going to learn now. So I've been stacking, luckily coders actually, which was I've been stacking Apes and Mutants this whole bear market. So you know, I'm happy to be here because I love the community. But completely aside that, from a technical point of view, you know, it's just a great EVM to build on. You know, and I think for us, particularly with the consumer front end, the Glyph wallet has given us, you know, we almost had to wait for the wallet because consumers, it was just a bit clunky. And I know you've got those kind of solutions, but if you have to explain Web3, you failed immediately to the absolute mass market. It's just got to be totally abstracted and seamless. So yeah, it's I think the technology is meeting up with the requirements as we were discussing earlier.
It's like back to, I mentioned, you know, was Nike and Starbucks too early last cycle? Maybe not. But what we didn't have, like, I can't stress enough how better the tech is today, how much we've moved forward, and what things like Glyph unlocks. Like you truly can abstract all the blockchain stuff away. Your average user who's not here, it's a web, you know, look and feel what they're familiar with. It's a Web 2 interface, and when you combine the tech having matured and got to a point where that foundational layer is there, combined with the buy-in from these big businesses and these big brands, it's just, man, it's an exciting time to be here and be building. And I think Steve and I both, we saw this, we thought this would happen. We thought big brands would get involved, didn't know the exact journey. And I really do think, like, combination of all the regulatory stuff, all the sentiment shifting at a high level, combined with this tech, it's like, now we're at the first inning of this stuff. Now things can really, really take off. And these programs aren't just great conceptually and in theory, they work in real life. They work in practice because it's no longer extremely complicated and you need to be deep in crypto to use any of this stuff. So yeah, well done, exciting. And Steve, just hearing him talk through that, it's like, you know, we're big fans of, you know, some of our recent partnerships here on the show, some of our recent sponsorships, like we did the BZ Claw Draw, which was our fans loved. You know, we would do their claw machine, and, you know, someone in the audience, you know, won those prizes. We're really looking to, you know, asking all of our sponsors. We got one coming up with Ape Chain soon that we don't announce this week. We'll share all the details next week heading into August for, again, another pretty nice incentive for all of our listeners for tuning in. See, this is like a no-brainer. We do a Coffee with Captain fitness challenge. I don't know what it is. So if anyone has any ideas what we should do, whether it's just steps or where we should walk to, what this challenge should be, and then that's another piece of inventory. Like I'll seek a sponsor who wants to sponsor the Coffee with Captain Fitness Challenge, and then boom, everyone who's getting fit and active will receive those rewards. Am I understanding correctly that the reward is the Zenko token, right? Like that's, if a big brand comes in, they're buying Zenko. That's not like their own token, or they don't have to create a token. It's all in, the protocol is all powered by Zenko. Is that correct?
Yeah. And the reward essentially is the execution of the good, is you getting to choose what cause. Yeah. Do I want to remove ocean plastics, feed children food poverty, you know, plant trees? So the reward really is the execution of the good. Now, that said, with a lot of our brand customers, we're then talking about how we overlay additional rewards on top. So like winners will also get in real life prizes, for example. So, you know, with one of the F1 guys, we're talking about, you know, winning tickets and things. So it doesn't have to exclusively be the token, but the inbuilt mechanics, which is like a move for good, you know, if you think about it in that way, utilize our token. But it's not, it doesn't have to just be the token. It can be the token and something else. So if somebody wanted to use our platform to give away additional rewards, for example, then that's absolutely fine too. It's almost the same, like if you had a sponsor, Chris, that wanted people during their movement mission to actually do side challenges, like go download a wallet, for example, or something like that. You can build inside challenges too that are centered around movement as the actual goal. So one of the things we're doing now with some customers is once Move gets live this week, we can actually be combining Move and Learn and saying, right, well, actually Move is the get you going piece, but as little side missions along the way, get bonus points if you watch our webinar, or get bonus points if you perform this task over here. So it's really about just trying to improve engagement. And the other thing as well, which I think highlights the importance of what you guys are doing, particularly for brands and particularly for sponsors, is the thing we've also not talked about today that's going to dramatically impact our industry is AI coming into all these channels. So as brands seek to get eyeballs, and as brands seek to tell people about their products, increasingly the channels that they would tell people about their products are starting to be dominated by AI. I'm in Madrid at the moment. I didn't search. I didn't go on one website. I literally just said to ChatGPT, this is my requirements, look for a hotel and find me the cheapest place out of where I've got accounts. And it sent me an Expedia link to buy it. Whereas somebody would have paid search engine marketing against the query that would have ran on the search. Somebody would have put display on travel websites I would have gone to, right? So the human piece is going to be so much more important in the next 5 years for marketing, where you can validate human beings, like a show like yours, like influencer marketing, like platforms and applications that are human driven, like Moving and Learning. That's the space that brands are going to gravitate towards because they can prove they're humans. And they're not AI. I can't imagine there's many AI bots listening to your show at the moment trying to decide which NFTs to FOMO into. Maybe there is, I'm not sure. But there's going to be a big search for humanity, I think. And I think you can feel it on Twitter. I think you just need to look at Twitter posts and Twitter responses to get a feeling that there's quite a big percentage of AI botting going on across the whole. Even back to that point you said earlier about yapping, right, Chris? It's like there's a lot of AI stuff going on. And I think that just puts humans off. And I'd always gravitate to a space because I know it's real people than some long thread that somebody's ran through ChatGPT and they've forgot to remove the M dashes because they're just being lazy. And it's like, oh my God. And then all the comments are AI driven too. So, for me, human is the key. And that's why we're excited about Web 4 too. I know we've kind of not really got Web 3 going properly yet, but what's coming down the road, I think is going to be super exciting. And I think by the time Ape Fest comes around, we're all going to be hugging and high-fiving, going we were right. Honestly, this is, it's going to be a good event for everybody.
Jason feeling good this morning. And good commentary in the market on the whole too, as well. But it's funny you say that. But I think what you're saying, just because I think what's really interesting is you're putting these different pieces together about social good, about motivation, about teamwork and togetherness and community, which I think is actually the part that I think, I know you kind of hit on, but I think it's an underrated part of when you talk about a challenge together. I remember, when I was at corporate environments, the most successful fitness challenges we would do from an internal communication standpoint weren't the get your steps and go here. And you're like, oh man, that guy runs marathons, I'm screwed. It's get together with your friends and do something together. And look, you may not be the winner, but you may be the one who ultimately comes out doing something and motivating and feeling accountable to someone else, which makes you a better person. And then you guys celebrate it, and it creates a social network of sorts where you're talking to each other about the goal you're trying to reach, whether it's for good, whether it's for good for you as far as the healthy piece goes. When you talk about steps or some other fitness goal, it's the idea that you're having a conversation and a social network about, you're creating an experience out of something that maybe wasn't previously, and you're using sort of an underlying blockchain layer to do that. And you're introducing rewards with it. So I think it's a really cool concept. And I love that you have, you sort of set it, and just, to make sure myself and the audience understanding it right. It's you're setting it as a base level sort of protocol, almost more so than you're setting it as a, this is a movement plan, or this is a carbon emissions plan. It is a baseline where you could program many different things against it.
Totally. And Steve, you've been listening to all of our stuff, right? So the way we pitch this to our customers is about narrative, experience, and purpose. And brands want to connect in with an experience. So everything you just described about the power of people and communities and the feeling good and the consistency, that's what brands want to be a part of. Finding a sponsor for something like that is not hard. Finding a sponsor to put a logo on something that people might see is a lot harder, right? But actually saying, well, this brings your sponsorship to life, and then let's make it themed that's close to your brand, right? Like we did. Our one is a mission to the moon, because I was gambling when we started writing the app that about this time we'd be coming into the moon phase, and we'd all be all like, oh, we would be using moon analogies in all of our creative. So you can, brands kind of want to be part of that. So yes, of course, it's about doing good, but also we're a commercial business and we're trying to get people on the blockchain, and we're trying to get transactions on chain, and we're trying to bring value to Ape Chain too. But I think it's making sure that the tokenomics aren't inflationary. It's not like the more people that join, the more tokens we create, the more you do, the more, it actually, the money's got to come from somewhere to power this. And not to bring it back to like that dirty business again, but we've got to think really commercially with Web3 and saying, right, well, if brands are going to use it, why are they going to use it and how are they going to use it? And it's going to come down to saving them money. And our proposition is dead simple. It costs you a lot of money to reach the audience that you want to sell your products to. Using the blockchain, using a cause, using an experience will dramatically reduce your cost of customer acquisition. And it just makes your marketing budgets more effective. And we go after budgets that exist, not create a new budget, if that makes sense. Because creating a new budget in these big companies is quite hard. But just saying, well, we're going to sweat your budgets a little bit harder, because budgets are a little bit squeezed at the minute. And people are saying, well, what can we do that's innovative, but also reduce our costs? Not, we've got an endless budget. What can we do that's innovative? Build me something amazing, if you know what I mean. I don't have many of those meetings at the moment, because I do think there's some economic reality happening, and we've never really had that in Web3. I don't know what you guys takes on it. We've kind of always had Web3 going in a very strong market, and I feel like things like the stock market's pretty strong, but I feel like there's job issues. I feel like there's credit crunches. I think the interest rates are kind of pinching people that have to borrow. So I hope that the economy does turn and that we don't get too hit later in the year. Maybe that could be what marks the peak of the bull run. Maybe we go into proper economic bear market. I'm not sure, but I'm not an expert on that. But I feel like we've got conditions outside of crypto that are going to have an impact on us. But if we can use blockchain to reduce people's costs and increase their efficiency and make sure that everything's transparent, which is what blockchain's all about, particularly in the utility space, I think we've got a real good chance to fix people's problems when they start to hit these economic problems, which is, I need to get a better return for my money. Just like people saying, well, maybe AI is a way of helping you address your staffing issues, right? But that just creates another problem on the back end. So I know I'm all full of beans today because the sun's shining and we're in a bull market, but I think we can't be blinkered to the fact that we do have to have real utility, and we do have to fix real world problems, as well as having 6 months of everything going up and everybody being an absolute genius trader, right? Which we all will be, because everything we buy, we'll hit that period where everything we buy will go up, and we'll be like, great, what hasn't run yet? Because that's going to go next, and until it doesn't.
I'm smiling, Steve, because I saw our guy. I felt our guy Dunk Cookie smiling. It's not every day we get a full of beans reference here on Coffee with Captain. So for all of our English friends, that was. That was spot on. I did have a question, Jason, because you mentioned, I think I heard you say 5 pillars, and you mentioned learn, play / move. Is that the same? Is that the same?
No, plays games. So okay. Playing games. So learn, play.
What are the other 2?
Move, shop. So this is where. So we've got two applications to shop. One is live now, and this is where you buy something from a brand and a good happens. So great application in sports: buy a football shirt, feed a child in food poverty. Interestingly, our first one, I'm being interviewed on UK national TV to talk about this. Our largest channel in the UK are interviewing me to talk about this innovation in sports, and my challenge is to try and squeeze Ape Chain in. That's my objective on British national TV. I'm going to try and squeeze Ape Chain in. So shop is 2. Shop is buy something and a good happens, and the other one is we're bringing an application to the market that effectively uses affiliate codes from 3,000 stores to turn that return into a token that can be used for good. So shop was the 4th. The 5th one is it's a little bit random, and it's called stake to earn. But this will be the thing that will really change our token flow, and it will apply in all of our applications. And this will be live in October. So what's going to happen is we've got our 4 ones where you're earning tokens. And we are talking to some additional third parties that just use the token, right? We're just trying to showcase apps, a bit like ApeChain is by building applications on top. Yuga are trying to build applications on top of ApeChain, right? So we're building applications for people to use, but we also, we do want people to adopt the token directly. So there are 4 main apps. The final one is stake to earn. Now, so let's say you've just completed a mission and you've been on an event for Lenovo and you checked in and you read their white paper and you answered their questions and you've earned enough tokens to feed 100 children in food poverty. So you could go and say food poverty, right? Now, what we're going to do is give you the option to say, oh, wait a minute, maybe you don't feed 100 right away. Maybe you stake your coins in DeFi and you feed 5 a month forever in perpetuity. So what this does in our flywheel is it disrupts that process. So instead of earn, execute, it's actually earn, stake, and then it slows down the emissions. So I'm debating calling this DoFi because it's like do good with finance. Well, I'm not sure that'll take off. See, Steve didn't smile. I genuinely thought I'd say DoFi and Steve would smile at that, but he didn't. So maybe that's a bad name, but it's using a Web3, not trick, but a Web3 tactic, which is DeFi and staking, but applying it almost to the cause. So forget the tokens, but think about how you can amplify the cause. So if you've got enough to do this now, how could we amplify that by staking it, basically?
Well, whether the name sticks or not, I wholeheartedly agree that there is a massive opportunity to do good in crypto. I think especially now when the sentiment, the public sentiment seems to be shifting from evil crypto is only good for drug dealers and criminals to everyone should have crypto in their portfolio. And it's like, I think this opportunity to actually do good, not just on a specific, project level or specific brands, but I think it's one of the things that blockchain tech can unlock. And there's been a lot of thoughts, there's been a lot of attempts, and I applaud and appreciate the effort because I do think this is something where it's like we talk about things are just better on chain. And I do believe philanthropic efforts can be better on chain. Like I think the tech will unlock things in the past.
And an underrated part of this that you mentioned, like I've been talking about it for a while. So I remember having a conversation with Bill Tai, who was the first investor in Zoom, who was also one of the founders of MetaGood onchain Monkey. And I remember him saying, like, we had this conversation about, man, imagine if you got NFTs for your charitable contributions and it was something you could display in your Zoom background. Because a lot of people, not everybody is a nerdy collector with a gazillion trinkets behind them like myself or Cap or anybody else. Like some people just have a normal Zoom background, like a normal, well-adjusted human. Well, those people, the idea that they could have an NFT that they're able to flex in their background very easily and it's modular, not like, oh, let me make a custom Zoom background and figure it out. And what it's like, no, you just click a couple buttons and it shows up. And so ways to show your charitable donations across chain or flex the purposes you care about, I think is interesting because again, this is like the PFP phenomenon where people act like, oh my God, PFPs, no way people want to use PFPs. It's like, well, what do you call the local Disney fan that you're friends with that puts a picture of them in front of the castle? Or people don't want to flex their, charitable NFTs. Why would they want to do that? What do you call the person who puts the ribbon on their profile picture on Facebook or Instagram or shares that, on a one-off basis? The ability to make that more compostable, more portable, like that is the thing that I think people are missing out on. So I think that aspect's underrated as well. The fact that, people could potentially do something, get this reward that shows that they've done this thing forever in perpetuity that they've given to this thing. And you could have a world where people are collecting sets of charitable donations and there is more giving because of the flex element of it versus just, hey, I flex, I get a tax write-off, I post a picture of me at some gala and call it a day, or I put a ribbon in my PFP. Like, well, no, like you donate and it shows you donated. We've seen this again on Facebook and other platforms where it shows when you donate to something through a news feed. This is that on steroids. So I think that opportunity and using sort of the glyph technology to do so, I think is really interesting.
And we're talking to the one of our advisors actually in the UK government, and I hope this doesn't happen. But if we do go the way of things like carbon credits and carbon allowance, I mean, at the moment in the UK, they're talking about allowing you to travel abroad 3 times a year, and on your 4th, it triggers an investigation, right? There's some funny stuff happening over here, which thankfully, you guys, not getting into politics, thankfully, you guys look like you might not have, but you might have had if the voting had gone a different way, right? So if people have to have a way of showing the good they do as a part of the balance for the bad they do in the carbon. We want to make sure that we've got that on the blockchain that's immutable, and it shouldn't be a tax. People can say, look, here you go. And here's a sad thing too, and I'll say this because I'm really conscious about your time, but this is a sad fact, right? Right in our early days, when this was like, this is the blockchain fixes this. This is the thing. We went to one of the largest charities in the world, and I got marched out of the building, basically, for talking to them about the blockchain. They literally kicked me out. And I managed to talk to the person that had got me in the room about I literally didn't know what happened. I was like, what happened? And he literally said, we can't say this publicly, but we don't want transparency. We don't want low fees. We don't want people to, our model isn't that. Our model is you donate money to our charity, we spend it wisely, because you're not smart enough to pick a cause directly, and trust us, bro, basically. And I think people are smart for that. I think people might go, you know what? I'd love to support a little project in Malaysia that's trying to rebuild schools after a hurricane. I'd love to support, an ocean cleanup in California after something that's happened. I haven't got to give my money to a big global charity whose job is to pay their CEO $500,000 a year and to effectively spend the money. And that's not poking fun at charities, but I think they're a very old model that are ripe for disrupting. And I'm not necessarily saying that's our job, but we kind of skirt a little bit into that space. And I was so disappointed that they were so reluctant to adopt technology because they knew it would make instantly everything much more transparent. And it kind of makes you question what the role of a charity is after all, basically, because you'd think, why are they not all on the blockchain, right? Lower fees, transparency, removes, any accounting issues, stops, but they don't want it, right? So a turkey doesn't vote for Christmas, and they like the fact that they publish a report after 6 months after the end of the year, and probably nobody downloads it because it's a huge PDF that's hundreds of pages, right? But I genuinely think our technology that we're in now will do a lot of good. And I'm proud to be a small part of that. I love the fact that we're part of the 8chain community because I think what those guys are building is special. But I could say the same thing about, Abstract. I could say the same thing about Avalanche. There's so many great builders in the space at the moment. And I think it's a big world out there and there's plenty of room for everybody. It's just finding that real world use and the ability to onboard the masses. That's hopefully what this bull run will be about, will be these use cases. And then we can all go buy a Chromie squiggle because I missed the fuller on that and I'm still upset.
Jason, you mentioned a lot of great change. You said you want to go EVM. Can I ask why ApeChain? What stood out? I mean, I have my ideas, but I'd love to hear from you. What ultimately drove that decision to launch this on ApeChain? It
was two things actually. It was the bridging capabilities built within, because we're going to be multi-chain. So our tradable token today is on Solana. We are going to launch a DEX onto ApeChain, but to be honest, there's no real rush there because ApeChain's not known for trading of tokens. So we're focusing on centralized exchanges first. So we are going to be truly multi-chain from a token point of view, but our applications are all happening on ApeChain. So every person that joins one of our apps gets a wallet on ApeChain. All of the transactions happen on ApeChain. So I believe in having a very open world for traders where they can buy and sell on their favorite chains. But I think we kind of find a home. And ApeChain have just got some amazing integration tools with things like Stargates and Zaps and all the things I don't really understand technically how they work, but I know that it gives us the rails. Incredibly low fees. I mean, it still amazes me that it costs us more to bridge money onto ApeChain than it does to distribute all of our rewards on ApeChain. It's nuts. And I'm like, my God, so very fast, very, very cheap. But also things like gasless NFT collections, because we're using NFTs. Imagine if somebody had won an award and then they had to figure out how to put a token inside a wallet they didn't even know they existed to claim an NFT that they didn't even know it's an NFT that they're paying gas for, that they don't even know what gas means, right? Because that's something they put in the car. So ApeChain generally had all the tools we need. Glyph, we had an early preview of Glyph and we were like, that's it. Now that's the deal breaker for us. On the back end, integration with other side, which I know for us is probably a year away, but bringing Premier League football into the other side and creating fan engagement experiences with a live match happening on the pitch, 20 frames per second, 60 frames per second, 20 points of data by person, we're doing all the testing in the background, right? So being able to offer that to our customers and making it all as a part of a do-good thing, it's just, so long answer for an easy question. Ape-chain was great, fixed all our problems today, but strategically, we have a view for the future. And I think they are focusing now commercially. I think the things with what they've done with the DAO changes and stuff like that, I think they're all to enable them to focus on what's going to make Ape-chain mass market. It's not going to be the chain that people buy the next memes on, right? It's not, it's going to grow because builders come and they bring real world applications where, people aren't that fussed. And you know what, also, the nice thing is we were like, how much do you want Ape-chain to be all over our new app? And they're like, we're not fussed. They're not showy offy. They don't want to have their name in the masthead, right? It's just they just want a little powered by Ape-chain, right? It's not, so they're not trying to build an ivory castle. They're trying to build real utility, that enables the mass users. So, we found a home. The guys have been great. And I really look forward to other side and the testing and how that's going as part of our second phase going into next year.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we learned talking to some of the team over there is that they are looking at very real applications in the real world on things like this. And it's a smart play to me because that is where I think we have a very real evolution happening in blockchain, and seeing the business applications is really exciting for us as well. I mean, look, that said, it's been a really good conversation. I know we are rounding out time here. Always enjoy not just talking with you about, everything you're working on at Zenko, but everything, in general. I think you have a really fun perspective on the market, and one of the things I love is people who are truly involved in the market talking about the market. That's one of those things that you sometimes don't get, where it's a difference between somebody who's a builder and somebody who's a tourist. So appreciate you doing that. Although not a tourist more than 3 times a year, please. But appreciate you doing that. That said, any other thing, like what action do you want people to take today, and any other thoughts that you want to get off before we let you get out of here?
I mean, so we have a little pay-to-earn game in our Telegram. So we give away $500 in Apecoin every week. So if you want to come and play a little tap game to take plastic out of the ocean, just come into our Telegram. I think that's it. I mean, just come. There's a nice little pin at the top of our Telegram, at Zenko Protocol on Twitter. Go to there or come join our Telegram, which is, again, at Zenko Protocol. We're going to drop in when the app is live, so you can go download it. I would love for people, download the app, join a mission, but invite somebody you want to inspire to move. Like who do you want in your team? So go out, start thinking, have a team of 6 people. And back to your point, Chris, this isn't about the fastest and the furthest running. Our main mission to the moon actually requires consistency. It's 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. That's it. So if that's all you do, you'll be at the same point as somebody that's running 10Ks a day, for example. Now, we've got side missions where it's about distance and stuff like that. But our main mission is about a team of 6 doing 15 minutes a day. It's harder than you think. 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. But that's behavior changing. So I wish I could send you to, I've not had the nod. I was hoping that Ape-chain would have given us the Glyph is live now. We're literally doing the final step integration with Glyph. So as soon as that's live, we'll put a notice out on our Telegram and our Twitter. But yeah, so just come join the community. If you want to connect with me, I'm Jason D. Sibley on Twitter too. I've got a nice little ape with a bowler hat in my profile. So come find me too. And especially if you are in other side, if you're in Ape Fest, please find me there, because I will have some Zenko merch too. And it's I know it's a while away yet, but hopefully we'll meet a lot of the community in Vegas this year.
Awesome. Bro, appreciate that. I did. Vicky also asked in the chat. Thanks for asking, Vicky. Just was wondering who was talking. I did so the pinned post all the way to the left is I tagged Jason's account as well as Zenko Protocol, which is on stage. So give both those a follow. You got some big fans out there. Machiavelli, definitely a fan and already a holder. And same, like this is not knocking any art, not knocking any NFT PFP collections, but more of this, more real world applications on chain that just make it better. From Clutch Market to Zenko, like this is the sort of stuff that gets me excited about Ape-chain, where they're heading, because this is a long play, right? I see this like earlier we were talking, I think it was actually Dunk Cookie was like, what's better in a bear and a bull? This sort of stuff shouldn't matter, bear or bull, right? Like bull certainly helps create the momentum and advancement, but it's this sort of stuff that just should continue to grow and have users regardless of market conditions. And yeah, appreciate the leadership, appreciate doing good out there, and excited to support and follow along.
I mean, guys, a huge fan, like I said. So thank you so much for having me on. I'll come back anytime to give you guys updates. I hope to get you in the app. Let's get a coffee challenge on and just see if we can get people to move through the summer.
To set that up, we could just do it. It's self-serve. We can set up our own challenge on the app.
Yeah. So two things I'd love to see is let's set you up as a global league in our mission. So because what you don't need to do is you don't need to dedicate your time to one mission, or you can sign up for as many missions as you like and your efforts count to all of them, if that makes sense. So it's not like, I'm going to run 30 minutes a day for this one and 30 minutes a day for that, right? So you just do your exercise, log it, and it'll count to all of your missions. So we can set up a Coffee with Captain global league. So anybody can say, oh, actually, I'll put my steps towards their global league, and we can position you alongside Ape Chain, for example, and the Bored Apes and all that kind of stuff. So we can do that. But also, once you're in, you can set your own challenges. I think I would love to, and say hold your hand in a non-romantic sense. I'd love to hold your hand and make sure that, we could look at setting up some custom stuff for you if you want to do some different awards and stuff like that. Let's figure out, let's connect offline and figure out the best way to build a challenge, for you. And I can then meet with the sponsor and talk about how we can put extra activities in for them, like we just discussed, right? Because, like I said, the more users you bring, it's going to create more wallets on Ape Chain, it's more transactions on Ape Chain, and it's some people getting out there and getting fit too. So, let's pick that up offline, and so we can bring an amazing challenge back to your community too.
Super fun.
Love it.
Well, thanks for joining us. We always appreciate it, and good chatting.
Thanks,
and I'm glad you were all full of beans this morning. See ya.
Thank you.
Cap, fun stuff. Good guy. Excited, full of beans. I mean, it's exciting times right now in crypto, and hearing just like the bullishness and the excitement there is something that is I don't know. It's like this combination of like a person who's building a real thing with bullishness on the market, thinking we're going to be hitting Ape Fest in a couple of months, and we're going to be thinking that we're all the smartest traders in the world, not following our plans that we're talking about this morning. It's exciting times, and there's a lot of places. I keep thinking to myself, is it just people who packed bags 3 months ago, or are we going to get new things to pack in the next few months? And that's what the crux of my question I had asked earlier about was, which was, where do we go from here? If somebody's starting right now, like I see some people in the war room, in the DJ Network war room, who are saying, look, I don't have any big NFT bags. I know for me personally, I'll speak on my own behalf. I mean, I've been paying some bills with some NFT stuff. So I sold some of those NFTs that have now kind of cooked a little bit, certainly at much lower prices. So given that,
on that's something too, real quick. I've done the same at times. You don't want to be a forced seller, right? You want to have your plan, stick to it. And part of that strategy of like setting aside your long-term, you put that in Bitcoin and never touch it. Your rainy day fund on crypto would be one, like I would have some liquidity that's not fully allocated. So if you do need to cash something out, if you do need to take care of some bills, you're not having to sell something that you wouldn't sell if not for, I need the cash right now. And as I try to think of a specific example, but the times I have sold something because I need some cash, and this is not at the top of my priority list. This is like of the things I would like to liquidate, this is down this is the first one to go. But even still, if it's not, I'm not selling it because I think it's a right time to sell based on when I bought it. I'm only selling it because of the need for liquidity at that moment. Rarely do those ever turn out to be good trades. Like if you can avoid being a forced seller, and to do that, it's make sure you have your rainy day fund.
Yeah, well, also to be clear, I just made bad decisions on that too. It wasn't even necessarily some of it was forced sales. Some of it was, hey, I don't see this going anywhere. This is a lot of money it's sitting in. And I could see myself buying at a lower price again, and then the prices went up. So Yeah, there's and some of it was actually early tax loss harvesting. I try to be smart about that too, but it was, in fairness, tax loss harvesting where I thought the numbers wouldn't go back up. So, yeah, it's a weird spot to be. But if you are sidelined, that's the thing that I guess I keep thinking about is like, if people are sidelined or feel sidelined, figuring out ways to get in the game. And I don't, to be honest, have clear vision on where you go if you're sidelined right now, whether it's you say, hey, let's just make a bet on Pengu or Rect. Like, that's one place people might be going, but who knows? They've cooked up quite a bit. So it's like, where you want to find your entry point there. Is it, hey, I've set aside a lot of money, I'm going on a little pudgy, like whatever those things are. But it's a tough place to be right now because I think the difference between now and previous, again, this feels like it's not just that blip from 2021. By the way, the February data, I think possibly was the OpenSea farm when OpenSea kicked off and they had that blur-like product. I know a couple people talked about that. Doodles going to TGE, it might have been that. Could have been another one that a couple people were speculating. But like the difference between now, if this is this bull run in 2021, is like in the 2021-2022 bull run, it was just stuff was coming out constantly and people just couldn't get their hands on it enough. What does that become for people? Or is it just going to make the rich richer? Is it just going to make the people who have existing bags in a good spot, or people who are wealthy enough to buy more bags? That's going to be the question coming into this. And I know we said we don't know, and it's a question I'm just going to continue to ask every day as we look at it, because look, if it's just buying institutional stuff like ETH and ETH NFTs or ETH ETFs and Bitcoin and Bitcoin ETFs is one thing, but like where is the play where people can play a little more risk on and hit a high percentage? And that's going to be the interesting one to see, because even coins are harder than NFTs in the sense that, yeah, you can sell a little bit of a coin, but like, I guess it's kind of the same deal where it's like you could buy in a coin and leave a little bit at some entry point, leave a little bit at another. So maybe it's even a little easy there, but I don't know. That's going to be the thing I'm going to be keeping an eye on, is what is the thing that you get yourself in on in advance. And that is the thing that prints for you. And I don't think we know what that is yet. And I wonder if it's going to be art, if it's going to be, like, are more people going to be in it for the art suddenly now that we have this run going on? So we shall see. But yeah, any other thoughts, Cap, before we get skedaddling out of here? I know it's 10:11, so it's about that time.
I saw Mila come up. Mila, if you had a quick one, you can feel free to get in here. And the only other thing we didn't touch on is like the whole idea of this NFT treasury companies. I saw Garga's tweet yesterday. I don't know if you saw Frosty's math, but Yuga, their treasury of NFTs is nearly $1 billion. That's something.
It's not nothing. So if they wanted to make their way into some liquid, they have some assets to do so, and can do so in a responsible way should they so choose. But I'm guessing that's mostly punks.
A good chunk of it. They've got about almost 500 punks, but they also have they got a lot of codas, they've got a lot of MEBITs, they've got a lot of other deeds. I think where that could come into play if these these ETFs that include NFTs do well, if we actually see treasury companies become a thing. Not that I necessarily expect Yuga to liquidate their holdings to generate cash. I could see it bringing out, potentially I don't know, spin up another division, a new co that is solely a treasury company that brings investors in, as opposed to a raise for Yuga proper. So I don't know. It's early. Who knows? But I think one thing I'm going to be playing Coast Senshu is that Pengu ETF with Pengu and the Pudgy NFTs. And if TradFi likes it, then it won't be the last one. I'm near certain of that.
It's interesting. I'm less sold on the idea of NFT ETFs, like people are strategic reserves that people are talking about, than most are. But I can be convinced to change. But at least at the moment, I'm a little bit skeptical on those. So I see institutions buying to authentically get in the culture and participating. But yeah, who knows? I don't know. We'll see. But look, Cap, that said, we're in a good spot, feeling good. excited. I know Wall Street waits to the end of the day to update their prices on their funds, but I'll be curious to see in the next couple of days what that ETH ETF fund's going to look like, which I actually completely forgot I allocated to until last week. Like, I knew I had Bitcoin ETFs. I forgot I had allocated money into ETH ETFs. And then like last week, I was like, what's going on in my IRA? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, look at the ETH ETFs cooking. So feeling good about those. And yeah, excited to see where we head out. But that's it. Let's send everybody off on their day. Good discussion across the board this morning. Appreciate everyone who came through. I mean, glad, awesome guest. Jason is just a absolute bull right now, which you love to hear. But we'll talk to everybody. We're going to have Think on tomorrow. Think's got a TGE coming up. They announced, so that's pretty exciting. So there's one TGE that's happening, at least as we talked about it. But let's send everybody off on their day. Thanks everyone who came through this morning. We will talk to everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks for tuning into Coffee with Captain, powered by ApeCoin. We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, nothing we discussed today is financial advice. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Welcome to the future.